night was a great night for me so far. Now we know anything can change, but that's what they saying. I don't know if we live or not, so it don't matter. But
Yeah, we live.
we live. Oh yeah, well it don't matter to me because, like I said before, Mars and all you guys, man. Um, this is why now I think that players should look to try to get a clause in the contract, and I'm talking about like veteran players who have been in the league or been with a team for a certain amount of years. They should be able to try to put a clause in that if they are not satisfied with the direction of the team, they can ask for a trade because it looked bad when you take the money, say that you took the money because it was there, and then a year later you demand a trade, and then you handcuff the team and say, "Nah, I only want to go to one team." And now when you don't get traded, everybody get mad at the team, but you signed a contract with that team. Portland don't have to trade him. He signed the contract to play with Portland. You know, this is the same as the KD situation, but I thought that the GM and them broke promises to KD. Now, if the GM from Portland and them broke promises to Dame, this is why all them players should get this type of stuff put in their contracts, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? When you negotiating contracts that look, if I'm a veteran on this team, or I'm a veteran in the league, I've been here for years and I want to get out. Like if you want to get out of a situation, like if they went through a rebuild or something and you ask for a trade, you should have a clause where they would agree to then move you. You know what I'm saying? Because this situation, like I said, the situation with Dame, man, bro, they don't trade him. You got to hit Dame. You got a situation with James Harden. He basically telling y'all he gonna act a fool going to camp. So, I mean, Adam Silver putting in that $150,000 fine, that's nothing. These players making that one game, half a game. So you think they care about that? No, they're gonna show off. So I don't know what y'all feel on that, Mars, but I just feel like when you sign that contract, man, you sold your soul.
Dame is tied down for including this season, so 3 more seasons, and then he has a player option for the 4th year worth like 63 million. When you have that long left on your deal, the team is under no obligation to trade you, especially to one destination, because you just say that's where you want to go. You agreed to the contract extension. Your contract would have been done after next year. He would have only had 2 years left, and then maybe he would have had some more leverage saying, well, I'm out after 2025 anyway, you might as well get some value for me. But he decided to add the extra year or 2 with the player option, knowing he was going to be, 36, 37 at that time, making 63 million. And now he wants to say he wants out, and he expects Portland to just bend at the knee and take lesser for him to go to Miami, and that doesn't benefit them in any way. And as respectfully as possible, Damian Lillard hasn't seen enough success in a Portland Trailblazers jersey to decide that Portland just have to do whatever he asks of them. Like, for example, Kevin Durant in Oklahoma City, he made a finals appearance. He lost. He was in the conference finals repeatedly. If he asked out and had maybe 1 or 2 locations, OKC probably would have been more lenient to listen to where he wanted to go. But he left as a free agent. LeBron James in Cleveland, if he asked out, he went to the finals, was constantly making deep postseason runs, maybe didn't have as much help, but they would have probably listened to him and said where he wanted to go. If Steph Curry asked out of Golden State, they would send him where he wanted to go. If Jokic asked out of Denver, they would send him where he wanted to go. Giannis, etc. But when you've made 1 conference finals appearance, constantly losing the first round, don't really play well in the postseason after the first round, and then think that the team somehow owes you something to send you to the one team that you say you'll go to out of the other 29 teams in the NBA, you're living in a fantasy land, especially when you have this length of contract left. So I don't know what Dame's getting at. If Dame gets sent to Utah, he just has to play through it. Like, you have 3 years left, and if Utah offer the best trade package, you're going to Utah. That's just how business works. If he didn't want that, he wouldn't have signed this extra contract for $60 million a year, but he wanted that extra money security, and with that, he lost the opportunity and the leverage to decide where he goes in a trade or in free agency, and that's just life. You don't get your cake and eat it too. That's the saying. He's trying to have both, and he doesn't get that, unfortunately.
Yeah, man. Everybody saying, they all saying, Chill and everybody else, that Portland's doing them dirty. How they doing them dirty? They paid him all his money on time. He signed the contract. He said he was comfortable there. He was never complaining about them not being a competitor until this season. He all of a sudden at the last minute says, "Make me a trade now to make us a competitor." He knows that's not going to happen like that. He did, or at least in the public. So what he did was, like I said, he put himself in a bad situation. You had a chance to be a free agent and go anywhere you wanted to go. Now you want to wait till year 11. And this is the bad part about it. Everybody's not getting on one. He's handcuffing them to one team, Shield. That's the problem.
I think that's the biggest problem here, because when you say one team and only one team, you drastically limit the market of other teams who could try to trade for you. And at the end of the day, Portland has to do the best for themselves. Like, Dame wanted them to trade the draft pick and their, young players. But from a franchise perspective, if you have the chance to draft Scoot Henderson, you draft Scoot Henderson. You don't overthink that whole process. But if you sign a contract for multiple years and then you ask out, you should have asked for a no trade clause if you wanted to choose where you want to go. That's the purpose of that trade clause being there for you to have. The fact that that's not in the contract does not mean automatically that Portland owes you anything or has to trade you anywhere, especially when they did right by you by giving you a super max extension. So I agree with you on that.
Man, add that to the fact that the 4-year deal that you have, you completely lose all leverage. Like, this isn't a contract year with James Harden. James Harden is a bad example, but this isn't a contract year where after next season you're a free agent. So now teams are hampered because we're not really sure if we trade for you, you're going to re-up with us. No, he's under contract for 4 years. And if I know anything about Damian Lillard, I know one thing. Damian Lillard is a baller. So if Damian Lillard gets traded to Orlando, he's going to Orlando, because I can't see Damian Lillard in October or November just
it's
sitting
all
down.
A bluff. It's all a bluff. Yeah.
Simply off the strength that I want to play in Miami. Sure, you want to play in Miami, and we want to get you to Miami if it works for us. It's not just if this works for you, if this works for us as well. Ticket and I had this conversation a while ago. There's no way Kevin Durant is in Phoenix if this doesn't work for Brooklyn. They're not just sending him to Phoenix just because he wants to go there. No, that was the best deal that they could get. He asked to go to Phoenix. They found out that, okay, y'all willing to give up Mikal Bridges, another young kid, and also Cam Johnson, and we can get our draft picks back from James Harden, and we can get our draft picks back from Ben Simmons. And now that means that we can make this deal work for both of us. If the Miami Heat, when Damian Lillard says, I want to play for the Miami Heat, the Miami Heat think that they have all the leverage because he wants to play here. They think that Portland going to hand him over for a bucket of extra crispy and a six-pack. They crazy.
Well, I mean, you got to understand, it's the reason why Dame is pushing it so hard. It's only one reason. Because he know Miami don't got nothing or enough to compensate for him. If he knew Miami had enough, he wouldn't have to say nothing. The deal would already be done. It's the reason why Dame is saying, I want to go to Miami. I want to go to Miami. Chill, you just brought up Orlando. If he goes to Orlando, you saying that he's going to play. Well, the reason why he's doing this is because he knows a team like Orlando could easily swoop in and offer, a bunch of young assets and stuff like that. Exactly. And Portland will accept it. He knows there's other teams that have packages that are stronger than Miami's. So that's why he's saying, if you trade for me, I'm not suiting up. If you trade for me, I'm not going there, because he knows Miami's package is weak. So he's like, Miami or nothing. But I mean, with that being said and done, I don't feel sorry for the Blazers. I don't feel sorry for Dame, because
Miami's stupid.
7 years ago that should have broke up.
Miami's stupid because they held their whole all season up, lost key contributors, made no moves. They wasted their whole all season. So if this deal doesn't happen, then they're done, because you let Gabe Vincent and you lost key players. So to me, man, they idiots, bro. They let all free agency go and didn't do nothing, bro. If they don't get Dame, bro, they in trouble.
Even if they do get Dame, Ticket, let's just say for the sake of argument they get Dame. Is he the difference?
I think so.
Is he the guy?
Yeah.
Is he the guy who now in the Eastern Conference? Okay, so you lose Gabe Vincent, one of your better backcourt defenders, one of your better ball handlers, one of your better long ball shooters. You lose Max Strus, who's a streaky shooter, of course, but also one of your better energy guys. So you lose those two guys. You're still not sure if you're going to get Dame. Plus, getting Dame, you're going to actually have to give up more. So we're getting Dame, you're going to have to give up more than what you already lost. So now getting Dame under the Miami Heat, is he the difference now with us winning the NBA championship?
Yes.
With losing all of that?
Yes, I think so. And Yes, I think he is, because you have to think about Dame's impact on the Heat and how he will bend the courts. Last year, they made it as far as they did off of their role players being great and all. But Dame, in terms of a volume pull-up three-point shooter who can also get to the basket at will, with Bam in that pick and roll, he can unlock a lot of advantages for Bam's game. So stylistically, it fits. And the two players that they lost, they were not like super pluses on the defensive end. And Max Strus was a very inconsistent player throughout their entire playoff run. So now you're adding Dame to where now it's like, okay, Dame and Jimmy Butler can run two-man games. Jimmy Butler is one of the best off-ball players in the NBA. And Bam Adebayo, obviously, now that he has less opportunities to have to self-create, he can just get easier baskets. And versus Denver in the finals, if you watched it, right? Like all the way through and through, the issues that they continually had was with their offense. They had so many possessions where they would shoot a shot, miss, clank. What did you see Denver do? They went out on the other end, fast break, because Miami could not capitalize on offense. So adding Dame in with their system that's already tilted defensively, you now have defense around Dame with a better offense. So to me, that can actually bridge a tremendous gap for them.
I totally disagree, because they're still gonna get their ass kicked if they play the Lakers in the 7-game series. If they play Denver in the 7-game series, that defense that they got right now ain't changing nothing that Jokic and them do. It ain't changing nothing that AD and them do. They in trouble. Any of them top teams they play in the West, if they get to the NBA Finals, they getting the hell beat out of them. They're not resolving any of those problems that destroyed them in the NBA Finals.
Right. What defensive specialist did they lose? I just want to.
No, you're not hearing what I'm saying to you. You're not hearing. That had nothing to do with the series, dog. They got their ass kicked down there in that paint. They got their ass kicked by Gordon, punishing them in the post. They got their ass kicked by Jokic, punishing them all over the court, in the post and in the paint. So they played big boy basketball. They didn't put nobody else around Bam. They bringing back an old ass Kevin Love still, and they didn't bring back any rebuffers around them to be able to deal with teams who got multiple bigs. The Lakers got 2 bigs right now and trying to get 3.
Right.
So they did sign 2 people. They signed Josh Richardson and Thomas Bryant, just for everybody's information. Not saying
right.
I'm just saying
I do not disagree with what you're saying, Ticket. My point is, offensively, you're now adding a balance on the other end, because the issue is, yes, they had no answer for that, right? But then on the other end, they were also extremely limited offensively. They didn't have a balance. Adding Dame at least gives you a puncher's chance on the other end to maximize your offensive possessions in a system that's guided by Eric Spoelstra, one of the best coaches in the NBA, to guide them towards a chance of winning. You can't have it both ways. You can't
guard Jokic, though. He can't go. Hold on. He
already had that problem, but they didn't the offense match. Is what I'm saying.
Yo, what's your name, bro?
Oh yeah, my name is Gifted. Get the hoops.
Gifted.
Yeah.
I'm happy I came in right now to catch you cooking. I'm happy I came in to watch this right now. Because you're 100% right. You're 100% right. Because that's what we've had this conversation a couple of times. But that gets Jimmy Butler off. Jimmy Butler doesn't have to get stuck in situations like we saw in the finals. So now they can't stop Jokic, but they can't stop him either. Not only is it a counterbalance, but the guys that you said they lost Chutan, who was it? Gabe Vincent and Max Strus.
Gabe Vincent and Max Strus.
They get Damian Lillard, and those 2 names are never spoken again in South Beach.
That is terrible.
Those guys are never spoken about again. They forget all about Max Strus and Gabe Vincent.
Now, with that being said, you had mentioned they give them a puncher's chance. Number one, Damian Lillard plays on the basketball. That's not the Miami Heat offense. Miami Heat's offense is basically what they do in Golden State, what they do in San Antonio. A lot of action off the basketball, a lot of movement, a lot of stuff like that. Now with Damian Lillard playing on the ball, playing a lot of pick and roll action with Bam, he's got to get off the basketball too. So in addition to him playing off the ball, he's going to also have to get off the basketball, because that's what the Miami Heat do. That's how Max Strus is inconsistent as you say he is, as inconsistent as he was, as inconsistent as defensively as Gabe Vincent is. He's better than Damian Lillard. That's 100% a fact. He's definitely better than Damian Lillard as a defender. Damian Lillard is a minus as a defender compared to Gabe Vincent. Max Strus will actually give you effort. when we're talking about a shooter and him being inconsistent, the one thing I really dug about Eric Spoelstra was Eric Spoelstra would still go to him to keep his confidence up. 100%. He would have games where he would go 0 for 5 and he would go 0 for 6. But Damian Lillard also had 3 for 18 games, 4 for 20
so do you mind if I respond to that? Right here. So listen, you're not wrong. Right? Like, I understand those points you're making, but I'm looking at it from this perspective. Miami runs a lot of freelance, right? Bam Adebayo handoffs with their shooters, and also they have movement guys in transition who could go score, right? When you're adding Dame to that system, they didn't have an offensive player the caliber of Dame to create advantages from the perimeter. So that's why their offense is freelance, because they have to make the best of what they have. When you add Damian Lillard to the Miami Heat, you're giving them a weapon they've never had before with Eric Spoelstra, who's a creative basketball mind. So when you add that in, specifically creating advantages from the three-point line with Bam Adebayo specifically, you're bending the court tremendously, especially if in the framework of a package, if you're able to keep Duncan Robinson, have another off-ball guy who can move around, and it adds many depth layers.
First of all,
to the Miami
let me talk to you real quick.
And
First
Josh
of all,
Richardson better than Max
hold on 1 second, Bob. You're not going to be able to keep
Duncan.
Hold on. If it's a straight up trade with Miami, you're not going to be able to keep him because you got to make the numbers work. That's one. And secondly, so it's going to be both of those guys out of there.
With Kyle Lowry expiring.
Hold on.
Now I'm going to lose.
You're going to completely, hold on. I got his ass. I'm going to demolish his ass. You're going to completely demolish their bench. Secondly, sir, how many games have Dame averaged in the last 2 years being on the court? Hold on 1 second. Dame Lillard had averaged playing 40 games per year for the last 2 years on the court. So he hasn't been healthy throughout any of the last 2 seasons.
Okay,
and hold on.
That's not fair.
Let him get it off, Gifted. Let him get it off.
Let me finish.
Okay, sure. Okay, for sure.
Times he has been healthy going in the playoffs. He got hurt in the playoffs. Hurt in the playoffs in the bubble. Hurt in the playoffs against the Golden State Warriors when he broke his rib. Every single time this dude gets hurt in the playoffs when it's time. So I don't want to hear that. Either he's hurt in the playoffs or he's hurt in the regular season and getting in the playoffs. Then let's get to this. Again, I know Bob ain't talking because Bob is all hella fucked up. Hold on. You the same dude that was up here yesterday preaching about how we need to play in the post. Well, guess what? Miami Heat don't have an answer for the teams that have the ability to win. Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna let you go, Bob. They got an answer for Dame Dollar, and hold on. They got an answer for Dame Dollar. Hold on. They got an answer for Dame Dollar in Denver, and his name is Jamal Murray. But guess what? They don't have an answer for Jokic, who should have been a 3-time MVP.
Let me know when I can count.
Hold on. Let me say this to you. You go look at hold on, sir. Even though Dame does bring you something different to the table, they have the assets to throw that back at you. What Miami doesn't have is the deal breaker. They have nothing that equivalates to Jokic. They have nothing that equivalates to an AD if the Lakers get there. The Lakers are loaded too. They got all those guard play, all these different wings and big guards that can throw at you defensively. And a guy like Dame Dollar. And what do we see from Dame Dollar? His efficiency, his play always goes down in the playoffs. And then check this out. We've seen Jimmy Butler have bad moments in the playoffs. We've seen him have good moments. We've seen him have bad moments. We've seen Bam have bad moments because if you look, almost every year Bam's career, his production goes down in the playoffs. So he had a solid NBA Finals this year.
So now I would like to get in this conversation.
The last thing I'm going to say is, dog, unless you telling me that y'all got a big dudes that can come in there and deal with the top big dudes in the league, you still don't. The Bucks got better, right? Let's say that right now. The Bucks got better.
How they got better?
Hold on.
They got rid of Bud.
I'm not taking this stuff.
How they get better?
Hold on. Listen what I'm saying. I want you to listen what I'm saying. If you play the Bucks, hold on. If you play the Bucks. If you play the Bucks with a healthy, Giannis Antetokounmpo, now guess what? That means that lame Dollar got to be matched up against his worst nightmare. His daddy named Drew Holiday. The same nigga the same dude who shut his ass down in his prime, took the key, threw it away, and threw that SOB in a trash can and flushed him down the toilet. That's what he did to Dame Dollar last night.
Are you done with your point? Because I got a counter for you right now. I'm letting you talk right now. I can match you, but I'm asking you.
Hold on, because I'm cooking. My whole point to you was this: Lame Dollar, when you got to give up your whole bench, he does. Listen, the fact that you got to give. Hold on. The fact that you got to give up your depth. This is the thing that you don't understand, bro. When you give up your depth, that's what helps you win championships. Is your bench. Look at the bench for the Denver Nuggets and how they came up big. How Jeff Green, how Brown, how Bruce Brown, how Christian Brown, all those guys came up big for them. Look at the bench for the Los Angeles Lakers this year and how much better they got. Look at the bench and how much better they got for the Milwaukee Bucks. And now they got a different coach who actually got a pulse of a brain instead of that flea they had over there by the name of Mike Budenholzer. Bro, you in a hell of a lot of trouble, boy. If you think Dame Dollar gonna take you over there.
Okay. So now have you
real quick?
You said a lot. No, wait.
I'm not gonna go on. I'm not gonna go on.
Ox.
Could you
real
please
quick,
ask him how the Bucks got better?
Real quick. Yeah, no. So listen, I want to target this from many spots first. Okay,
I need to
number
know,
one.
Don't say it. Don't say it, Mars.
Just wait.
We know
number
why
one. Okay, the number one spot I want to target first is Miami as a team. Year after year after year after year, everyone, when they see Miami in the playoffs, the narrative is Miami doesn't have the talent. The Boston Celtics are going to be better than them because they simply don't have the talent. They don't have the firepower to stack up. Yes, but what they do have is an understanding of how to play basketball with a brilliant system coached by Eric Spoelstra and players that can play above their level because they do what they're required to do on the basketball court. Miami has beaten multiple teams despite not having the quote-unquote talent to stack up with those teams. What I'm talking to you about is adding Damian Lillard on the Miami Heat adds multiple layers to an offensive system that was literally utilizing Caleb Martin and also Gabe Vincent as pull-up shooters off of the bounce to create buckets in transition and at times in the half court, where Jimmy Butler will play off of the ball to get these players rhythm throughout a basketball game. They did not have a true creator from the perimeter who could score at multiple levels like a Damian Lillard. Number two, you brought up Dame's games played and also his injuries. Well, let's talk about that. He missed the entire season last year to finally stop being stubborn, get a surgery, and actually have a fix to his body. Because for multiple years, Dame said this on the record, I'm not capping, you can look it up. He quite literally said he had problems with his ribs, but he wanted to play through it for Portland. So he kept playing through it. And then he said, you know what, I can't do it no more. Let me get the surgery. And what happened the very next season after, Dame had his best offensive season ever as soon as he had that fix to his body. And you're also talking about Dame going to a team in the Miami Heat who have a top of the line staff that make sure that all of their players can play and are in shape and ready to go. Now, the next point you brought up how all these players have moments where they underperform in the playoffs. Let's talk about that. Jimmy Butler has had moments where he's underperformed for sure as the number one option on the team, as the number one creator from the perimeter for that team. The only guy that could take the ball from the three-point line and get to the rim consistently on that basketball team. And Bam Adebayo, Jimmy and Bam sometimes operate the same place on the court, so it's a bit harder for Bam to be as consistent with the self creation. Although, if you watched it, Bam clearly had his best playoff run of his career probably this year, outside of the Boston series in the bubble where Bam was.
That's a lie. He was horrible. His stats was down.
Wait, no. He was worse in the postseason than he was in the regular season. I did not get you off. I waited a long time.
Stop lying to the people. We'll pull up the stats. We'll pull up the numbers right now.
I'm not gonna fall in love with that.
Hold on. Did he play better in the postseason or worse? Hold on. Did he play better in the postseason than he did in the regular season? Yes or no?
So now that you have Damian Lillard and Jimmy Butler, I'm not answering you because it's my time to talk. Ron told me to chill. I chill. Now it's my time to go. So I'm going to keep going with my point. Okay. So now when you're adding Damian Lillard on the team with Jimmy Butler, again, what I have addressed is these players have had moments where they've underperformed for sure. When you're putting them together, the amount of creator opportunity is split between these two guys, which makes it a lot easier for their stamina and duration in terms of breaking down a defense. Jimmy Butler has proven time and time again, he's one of the best off-ball players in the NBA. So now that he can be in a role where he can take over the game, really lock in on playmaking and his defense, which we all know how good of a defender Jimmy Butler is, he now has more stamina for the entire 48 full minutes of a game. And the most important part are the staggers, because now Jimmy Butler can be on the bench. You got Dame out there. Dame has shown that he can create high-level offense by himself for multiple years. And you now have a system where both of these players can alternate. But for Bam Adebayo specifically, we saw for the entire playoff run, even though he looked shaky in spots. When Bam Adebayo was at his best, he was getting to the basket, he was super athletic at the paint, and it was off of the handoff gravity from their shooters. You're not replacing that with with Dame, who has gravity all the way to damn near half court, to where defenses have to respect that. And Bam Adebayo has also shown he can be a phenomenal secondary playmaker who can get the ball to other shooters in the corner. And ultimately, Miami is a team that is based on equal opportunity offense. So chill. I understand you saying, well, Dame dominates the ball and that's his play style. I think that's perfectly fair to say. But at the same time, what I would tell you is Dame has never been on a team like this that has a system and a structure with a coach to be able to buy in and play a different way. The best way Portland was maximized was when Damian Lillard had the ball in his hands. I understand that, like, we haven't seen it, so it's fair for you to say that. I get that. But ultimately, let's really look at who would be leaving, right? I think that is really where the conversation has to go, because, again, we don't know what the trade package entirely looks like. In my opinion, they don't have the value that Portland wants, so it has to be a 3-team deal. If they're able to keep Duncan Robinson, but they have to let go of Jaime, Jovic, all these other guys, it's going to be hard. I'm not saying they're the perfect team. What I'm saying is Dame is going to floor raise their offense to such a high degree, and they're not losing noted defensive specialists, and they were still like a top 10 defense.
Well, I mean, now Gabe Vincent was really was a plus on their defense team. I can't deny that, Chilton. You're 100% right with that. I'm not worried about losing Duncan Robinson. I'm not worried about losing what's his name, Kyle Lowry's contract. I'm not worried about any of that. I personally think Josh Richardson given the chance. Josh Richardson given the chance to play. I think he's better than Max Strus and Duncan Robinson anyway. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's a plus. I also think the kid that they drafted, Jaime from UCLA, I think he's ready to play some. Obviously not starter minutes, but he's ready to make an impact on the team as well. I think Miami is 100%, but they're far better with Damian Lillard than they were this year. I've already said before that if they had him this year, they beat the Nuggets. They beat the Nuggets too. So, Ticket, for you to tell me that I was on here capping for the bigs down low, you and Chilltown the other day was saying that the big down low isn't necessary no more. So how can you flip your argument?
I didn't say it wasn't necessary. I said I agree.
You never heard me say the big wasn't necessary. You never heard me say that.
This clown put me on ice.
What I did.
Hold on. This new chump. Y'all want to promote this new chump? Well, I tell y'all what y'all do. Y'all can bring me and him anytime one-on-one, and I'll send his ass back. And like I send the rest of them bums y'all brought up here to try to come at me. Because all that shit.
Why would you ice my man?
Hold on. If y'all believe all that shit this boy just said, tell him to put his money where his fat ass mouth is. I'm going to put my hold on.
I'm
talking to you, Monique. I'm talking to Gifted. You put your money where your mouth is. Since you talking all that shit, let's put 1,000 that they don't do better than what they did last year if they get Dame Dollar. Put 1,000 on it right now, or shut the hell up.
Oh, so there's still going to be an AC?
Gifted didn't mute you, Ticket. It wasn't Gifted's fault.
So Gifted, you and I were Gifted like
tell that boy put that money up. Oh, hold on, Grilltown. Tell him put that money. If you really believe what he say, I guarantee you, Grilltown. I guarantee damn well to your ass. If they get Dame Dollar, them niggas ain't even getting to the conference finals. They going home early. D block, gang. Believe that.
Early. Wait a minute. Wait. Bet. Are you saying first round?
I said they not getting to the conference finals, boy. I got 1,000 on it. If they get Dame Dollar, the money where your mouth is.
Ticket. You said they go home early. To me,
I said they not getting to the conference finals. That means they hold on. That means That means they going home early because they've been. Hold on, they've been to the conference finals the last 3 out of 4. Hold on, sir. I want you to listen to what I'm saying. I want you to listen to what I'm saying. They've been to the conference finals 3 out of 4 years without Dame. They've been to the conference finals 3 out of 4 years without Dame. I'm saying if they get Dame, they're going to be worse. If they get Dame, they're going to be worse, which means they're not getting to the conference finals, which means they'll lose before the second round. Now, if you want to put your money on it, I got 1,000 on it. If they get Dame Dollar, and I guarantee you won't take that bet because you up here just talking. I know the hell I'm talking about. Because you ain't listening. You ain't going to hold on. I'm going to tell you something, son. You ain't going to take a dude
on the court with the basketball.
I gave you all facts.
Are they a worse basketball team with Damian Lillard? Yes or no? Are they worse?
Yes. Hold on. Yes, because I'm gonna tell you why.
So they're a worse
because you eliminate. Hold on, sir. I'm gonna tell you why. Not because of the reason. Hold on. Not because of the reason why you think, dog. Not because of the reasons why you think. because the Miami Heat were a team that were gifted in a strength and numbers. They were gifted as an entire. Hold on, sir. Hold on.
Tell me who
they were gifted as an entire. Hold on. They were gifted as an entire group of players, not just
Break
one
down
star.
that group. No.
Listen what I'm saying real quick.
Tell me who's on the squad.
I'm gonna let you respond. I'm gonna let you respond because they put me on ice for you. I'm gonna let you respond.
Okay.
As a group, as a group of a team, they were gifted because they had depth on their bench, because they had other guys that could just hit you here, hit you there. And those are the guys that teams like Boston was not looking for and expecting. But when you give them and you point out guys that we can game plan for, because we know all you're coming with is Jimmy, Dame, and Bam. Now that's different. And hold on, listen. That's different than having a game plan and not know which dude gonna come. If Martin gonna give me 19 tonight or 21 tonight, is Gabe Vincent gonna give me 21 tonight? Is Duncan Robinson going to come off the bench and give me 16 or 17 tonight? Now, when you wipe all of those guys out, now you have to depend on two dudes who have been injury prone, and Dame Lillard, and this is one thing you can't take away. Dame Lillard has averaged 40 games in the last 2 years. This man ain't getting younger. You act like he's getting younger.
Not a great point.
Hold on, one last thing, brother. One last thing. I'm gonna ask you a question. In your mind,
what
if they play Denver in the finals again with Dame Lillard, but they lose their depth? What makes them better than Denver in the finals?
In my mind, they are a better basketball team than they would be a season before. And hypothetically, if they face Denver again, I don't like hypotheticals because we don't know exactly what the roster is word for word, and that matters to me. But if you're talking about a matchup versus Denver, I can tell you where Denver exploited the Heat the most is the Heat offense. Jokic got a chance to sit in the paint, didn't have to do shit because he was guarding Max Strus on some possessions. Max Strus would go 0 for 7 in the NBA Finals game. And what did Denver do? Push the pace, fast break. They were more offensively talented than the Miami Heat. And also, they could not survive runs when Jokic was on the bench. But now you add Damian Lillard, a guy that can go on his own runs and match that to some time where he's had a quite good history against the Denver defense, exploiting them and killing them. And for the Denver Nuggets, respectfully, because I love their team, I love Jokic. There's no shade. It's just facts. They did not have to play a player that was the volume three-point shooter like Dame, who was familiar with exploiting their defense from three. I know people are going to say, well, gifted. They played the Suns. Yes, Devin Booker and Kevin Durant are more mid-range oriented than volume three like Dame, where Dame is literally taking 8 to 9 threes a game on high volume, high efficiency from the perimeter. So when you're doing that, you're bending the Denver defense more and you're actually exploiting it, which makes it a completely different series than the one we just watched this time. Can I guarantee that people win? No, we do not know what the roster is.
Gifted, you see I didn't cut you off that whole time? I'm just going to leave it like this. I'm going to leave it like this, and I'm going to ask you one question on my way, leaving it like this. And to the producer who put me on ice, you get your goddamn money. You put your money over this chunk too, and I'll take your punk ass money too behind the scenes. Put my ass on ice. You put your face on the screen and put your punk ass dollars up with him, and I'm gonna take both of y'all chips. I know what the hell. Hold on, I know what the hell I'm talking about because all I do is take people money around here.
Because you said they're a worse team. No, you don't.
But back to you. Hold on. Back to you.
No.
Hold on. I did not cut you off. Hold on.
You literally said they're a worse team with Dame.
Hold on, bro. I did not cut you off. I'm gonna say one last to you, dog. I'm gonna say one last to you, and we talking facts. You can ask my tag team champion partner of the world, Mars. What have Dame Dollar done every time the stakes get bigger in the playoffs?
Don't mean shit.
What do he do?
To me. That don't mean nothing to me.
Hold up, though, fellas. Hold up. Because I do want to hear from Mars and Dama. What's going on, Dama? How you feeling today?
Okay.
Doing good, man.
I want to hear. You good? I want to hear from both of these guys on if you guys believe that a Damian Lillard trade would make the Heat better or worse. And you could kind of put it into your own words in terms of whether you think they're going to give up, Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, and Kyle Lowry, or whatever package you think they may have to give up to get them. So you can factor that in. But Mars, let's start with you. Since your tag team partner of the world tapped you in, how do you feel about the Miami Heat and Damian Lillard?
That man need help, huh, Ron?
They won't be an 8th seed.
I told you put your money up, chump. I don't need no help. You ain't take the bet. You ain't take the bet.
A debate and you're bringing up money to
you shut your mouth. You ain't take that bet.
And you're not
seen what I did to the last brother who ran his mouth.
I'm gonna go on mute for Mars. Listen, Mars know about me.
I take yours too, because I'm always right around here, and especially when the money's on the
because they're a worse team with Damian Lillard. Because you said on a recorded space that the Heat are a worse team with Damian Lillard. Because that makes so much sense. Wow, I'm so. You know what? Great point, Ticket. Great point.
Get your money.
Go ahead,
Mars,
Go ahead,
Mars, do you in fact know about Gifted? He said you know about him.
Yeah, I do know about Gifted. He was on the debate show with B Souls. Chill was there. Domo was there. He was in the finals against Low. I believe he probably should have won the finals, but Low won. It was like 51-49. But Gifted came away with his NBA 2K24 paid for. So
Gifted, you was kicking low ass?
I was. I think a lot of people got confused by some things. I think I won, but no hate. It was literally 51-50. So I'm not really mad for real. It's okay.
Yeah, it was like
that math don't matter.
The post said 50-50, but then when B Souls ended, it went to 51-49 because I guess.
So B Souls gave Low paid him under the table to give him that extra percent.
It was probably like 50.6, 49 points.
What it was?
Big shout out B Souls, Big shout out B Souls.
It was like 50.1, 49.9 type stuff. Like
and then
it just it was.
That's probably what happened. So yeah, I do know about Gifted, but I think Miami would be more than an 8th seed or a 7th seed. They were at a 7th seed, lost the first playing game. I don't think they'd be in the play, and I think they'd just be a regular playoff team. Do I think they'd make the finals if that's how you're measuring if they're a better team? I don't do it that way because I think the playoffs are all matchup dependent. But I think they have a better chance against teams like Philadelphia or Boston or Milwaukee than they did this year. The way they beat Milwaukee and Boston this year was shooting 44% from 3. And I just don't think that's going to be sustainable long term if that's their way of having to beat these teams. With Damian Lillard, I think they have a more viable way to win. That doesn't mean it's a guaranteed way to win. It doesn't mean I'm betting on them to win these series. It doesn't mean if they go against Boston, I'm going to say Miami's going to win because they beat them last year. I'm not going to say that. But I do think with Damian Lillard on the team, the route to success is less like right now, the way they beat these teams is very unlikely to be replicated. With Damian Lillard, I think it's more likely that it's achievable that they could win. Whether or not they, with a higher percentage chance of success, it doesn't mean you're going to succeed. Like this year, I think they probably had like a 15% chance of making it to the finals, but they actually got to the finals. If they have Damon, they have a 40% chance of making the finals, and then they don't make it to the finals. I still don't view this team as worse just because A, matchups, B, maybe the team gets cold at the wrong time. Maybe someone's hurt. Maybe the Bucks are better with Coach Adrian Griffin instead of Coach Budenholzer. I need to see a lot of things unfold. But I just think theoretically, you add Damian Lillard, the team is probably going to be better. But that doesn't mean you're going to make the same point as you did last year just due to a whole bunch of other factors. But I will say Dame outside the first round, like Ticket did ask, terrible. Just absolutely abysmal. I made the take where I don't consider Damian Lillard to be clutch. That was probably a bit hyperbolic, but I don't consider him to be the clutchest player in the game. I then looked up his clutch numbers every time he's outside the first round. Egregious. His numbers just in general outside the first round. Egregious. But I get told that it's because he hasn't had help. So if that's really the reason, then I guess with Miami, his numbers would not take the dramatic decline that they have in previous years. But I don't know. I just think the team is probably going to be better, but I don't think that means they make the finals. So there you go.
I just quickly want to respond here because I am prepared. There was a $9.99 donation from John Tyne. Gifted, please stop capping. That more offense argument is trash when we know that Miami was too small defensively and would lose too much depth to replicate the runs. Okay, let me look dead in the camera. I hate when people just say bullshit, right? People keep saying about depth. When they were losing to the Atlanta Hawks in the play-in, badly. No one was saying Miami had, this great depth. They were saying Miami's not going to be in the playoffs, period. Then when they beat them and had to match up against the Bucks, a team that everyone had going to the finals, they said they're probably going to get swept. Giannis goes down. They say they're still going to beat them. No, Giannis. And then I will always remember this because I got receipts. Game 2, when the Bucks scored like 81 or 85 points in the first half of a game, and they blew them out in game 2. They said, Miami's done. They don't need Giannis. They don't need him. And then after they go down 3-1, Giannis just had a triple-double, y'all. He just had a triple-double. They're going to come back from down 3-1. And then when they don't and they lose in 5 games, now it's, Giannis was hurt. That Bucks team wasn't really as good as we thought it was. My issue with the depth stuff with Miami is no one was talking about Max Strus a year ago. No one was talking about Caleb Martin when he was on the Hornets. Like, they didn't talk about these things. So people mentioning depth for a Miami team that has been known to build and develop their players, it has not been a positive thing, in my opinion. I understand they will be losing some quality players for sure. But what I'm saying is the act of having a more efficient half-court offense where Dame is not a high turnover guy, paired with Bam Adebayo in the short roll and Jimmy Butler as an off-ball cutter, playmaker, and connector, and also a guy on defense who can now attribute more of his effort and stamina to the defensive end, makes them a better team. I can't confirm to you if they win the title.
All y'all in the comment section, Ron, save this video. All y'all in the comment section saying this boy cooking. When the season happen, and we in the playoffs and they go home in the second round, the only thing he's gonna be cooking is his ass gonna be cooked in hell. I'm telling y'all right now, Chilltown, you better go ahead and tell this boy. If you tell me one thing, Gifted, and again, you keep talking about depth, but that is what won them series is their depth. Because it sure as hell won't Jimmy Butler out here doing it all. It was the depth of their team and other guys stepping up their moment. You tell me, so I want to ask you a question, Gifted, since you're so gifted. Okay. How many teams have won championships in the last 10 years without depth?
You need depth. I didn't say you didn't need depth.
No, I'm asking you because if they get Dame, they have to give up the rest of their depth. They already lost Gabe Vincent.
But they already lost other boys. No. You don't want to hop into specifics, and the specifics of it matter. My answer. My question. My brother. You didn't hear what I said to you. I'm saying to you. I'm saying to you. Listen. I'm saying when we talk about depth, we talk about everything. Everybody always talks about depth. Even the big three with Miami Heat, they needed depth. They needed other guys. Shane Battier. They needed what's that boy's name? The other boy that was hitting threes that first trip. All these dudes. You need depth to win playoff series and championships, young fella. You tell me what team won an NBA, even the Denver Nuggets. We were sitting here, me and Chilltown, and everybody was sitting here this year saying they need to go in that bench if they're gonna win this series in the finals. They need to go to that bench, and he started going to the bench. He started playing old boy that they got from the Clippers a little bit. He started playing Jeff Green a few more minutes. He started playing those guys from the bench because you're not gonna win a championship, sir, if you don't use the bench. Because once you go through all those series, you're gonna be. I don't like how you're presenting this because I never once said depth doesn't matter. I never said that. You're trying to say that, and that's not a part of my argument. My argument was never fuck depth. Depth does not matter. I said specifically, what are the pieces we're talking about moving out? In my opinion, if you're able to keep Duncan Robinson, Caleb, you still have.
That's a lot. Hold on. The contract. Hold on. How you gonna make the numbers work?
You got to trade Kyle Lowry has $30 million expiring.
They don't want Kyle Lowry. They already said that he's an old ass point guard. They don't want him. They want young assets and draft picks.
Be trading the expiring contract. Duncan Robinson, no. Stop. This is not a straight up deal, and that's another issue I have with this. There is no avenue to me where this is going to be a straight up deal between two teams. It's going to be three teams involved where you're moving Kyle Lowry's expiring to make the money work. Domo, I see your hand is up.
I was waiting to answer Ron's question. Y'all just started going back and forth again.
My bad, Domo. My bad, big dog. Go ahead, Rick Ross.
Nah, you good. I wasn't going to even interrupt. I was late.
Go ahead, Domo. I want to hear what you got to say. Go ahead.
If the question is Dame going to the Heat, if that makes them better, yeah, they become a better team. You add another star to that team, obviously they're going to be better. The real question is, does that make them a favorite to win the finals, or does it give them a better chance in the finals? We're talking about a team that went to the finals last year. So being better than a team that made the finals will automatically mean, would they be able to win the finals? No. Dame and Jimmy are both number twos. I don't think you can win a championship with two number twos and not a lot of depth or, not a lot of quality role players, which they don't have. So, yeah, Dame going to the Heat, they'll be better. They'll look better. They might have a better record. But winning a chip? No. Nah, you can't win a chip with two number twos. Ask Boston.
Damo, you ain't feeling Nightwing?
Yeah, ex-Boston is great.
Nah, I'm not feeling Nightwing. No. You know how I feel about him, man. He was Batman. Went to that finals, turned to Nightwing, man. Nah,
he was Batman.
Damo, I'm happy you brought up Boston though, Damo, because the whole time I'm like, yeah, we're talking about Miami, but it don't matter if they get Dame or not. Boston's the favorites. Boston's winning the championship anyway, so.
Why they have two number twos as well, so they
have two number twos. You can't name me a team outside of the Pistons that won with two number twos.
Boston, the number two logic doesn't work because I could be a number one and we just ain't good enough.
Yes.
We just not good enough. That doesn't mean that I'm not a number one. I'm just
the
not good
Celtics
enough.
are good enough, though. Chill. The Celtics are good. That team is good enough. That roster on paper, they're good enough.
Right.
They have enough players. The problem is up top. They have two number twos.
On paper shit.
That's it.
This on paper shit be killing teams though. This on paper shit don't.
That is true. Hey, Gifted, I feel it. After the last like 5 years, the on paper shit really like doesn't translate as well. But when you in the offseason, all you can talk about is the on paper shit for real.
That's facts though.
So,
yeah.
So if we get back to Damian Lillard, when I originally said that we got to get a third team involved in this, I sounded crazy. When in reality,
you're
there
not
was
crazy
nothing
at all.
that
That's
Miami.
facts. Yeah,
that's what I sounded like. They made it clear that I was nuts because there was nothing that Miami had. There was nothing that Miami had that Portland was going, okay, for Damian Lillard, we'll take that. Outside of Bam Adebayo, and we knew they weren't giving up Bam. We knew that for a fact. Because they're not giving up Bam, what else do you guys have that will make us say, okay, we'll do that? Well, you have nothing because I'm not interested. We already have wing players in Sharp. We drafted Scoot. Not only did we draft Scoot, I think the future of that unit is Scoot and Simon. I think that's Damian Lillard and CJ McCullough 2.0. So with that being said, getting Tyler Hero on the crew with Sharp on the crew, that really doesn't help us because we already have that. So now what that means is that we got to get a third team involved. Number one, to make the money work. Number two, to get back some more pieces because, again, we're starting over. Now, with that being said, when you get Damian Lillard in Miami, for what you're going to have to give up with the Miami Heat, for what you're going to have to give up when you get Damian Lillard on that roster, what is going to make this team better? Because it's obvious that they was already in the NBA Finals, so we're elite. All right, and don't get me wrong, I'm a firm believer that in order to win the NBA championship, you need a lot of things to go your way. And the Miami Heat had that on their championship run. They had a lot of things go their way. What is Damian Lillard going to be the difference in? Is he going to be the difference in their offense? Is he going to be able to match if the Los Angeles Lakers get to the NBA Finals? If the Denver Nuggets get back to the NBA Finals? If they have to see if they have to see Boston, who's healthy and all the way ready, is he going to be able to match what they do offensively? Him specifically, because that's what they were missing. Well, from what Mars is telling me and what I've seen in the playoffs, going deep into the playoffs, he might be their Achilles heel.
You mind if I reply to that?
Yes.
Right there? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, get it in there. We gotta move on to the next topic. I'm gonna let you get one more off though.
Okay. So basically, the last thing I'll say on that part, right, is the way I look at basketball, regardless of what Dame is converting from the field, which obviously that matters. I'm talking about the presence on the court that he brings to a offense. And when you're adding him in the Miami Heat system with the players that they have, they just went on a playoff run where they had a very fundamental free-flowing offense where the ball was just swinging, and night to night, their shooters knocked down shots, right? Now that juice fell out of place in the NBA Finals where half-court offense mattered more. Denver had length and size at every spot. Damian Lillard, if you're specifically speaking about the Denver Nuggets matchup, he was killing them with Robert Covington screens. He was killing them off isolation by himself, right? So when you put him on a team with Bam Adebayo, who is one of the best screeners in the NBA, one of the best secondary playmakers in the NBA, the floor dramatically shifts. And if you're saying that now all the pressure in the half court does not have to be on Butler, it unlocks Butler in other areas, which raises the floor of the Miami Heat as a team. Now, the pieces that they keep and retain matter, obviously, but we don't know what it is because the trade hasn't officially happened. But if you're just asking about Dame's impact on the Miami Heat, again, Denver was one of the best teams in transition. The way they killed them in the finals, that he had bad offensive spots, even from Jimmy himself, and they would get out on the other end. If you add a creator like Dame, the amount of opportunities and efficient looks you're going to get on offense are going to increase, which makes it to where you can actually compete with the Denver. It might not mean that you'll win the series, but you're at that level to where you have a chance to win. And ultimately, this is a Miami team that has really built themselves on. We might not have the talent, but we know basketball. We have guys that come in, you clock in, you go to work, and we hoop, and that's what we do. And Dame fits that culture well, and then on the court, the advantages he can create can put them in a position to win. And the point for the Miami Heat is to put themselves in a position where Jimmy Butler is under contract at his age, and Bam Adebayo every year increasingly gets better and better and better, to where Dame would fit their timeline and give them the best shot to win with those three, even if it's not right away. So that's my
Hey,
take.
Ron, this the dude that be low, Ron. Hey, this the dude that be low. Right? I want his Ron. I want his head on a silver platter. You set it up. I want his head on a silver platter.
I'm not worried about it. Go to chill. You set it up, Ron. I ain't worried about that.
I want his ass, Ron. I want his ass. This is dude that be low. I want his head on a silver platter.
I'm not moved by straw man arguments. I'm not moved by straw man, baby.
I want your ass on a silver platter.
You gotta talk hoops with me.
Real quick.
Hold your ass down. Believe that shit. You ain't gonna hear.
What's the true shooting?
I'm coming for your ass, boy. Hey, break your ass. We gonna set it up right here. We gonna set it up on PC. You gonna go one-on-one with the great one, sucker. You gonna go one-on-one with the great one. I'm gonna get that for low.
I'm not sure. I can meet you there. I can raise my voice if I got to. I talk basketball, not bullshit. I talk basketball, not bullshit. Now let's
go spin the block. Believe that.
Hey, listen, you got to spin the block. Beating your ass.
Technically, Gifted didn't be low. But if you want his ass, you can get him. I could set it up.
Nah. Mars said he beat him.
You gotta watch that phrase.
I think technically low one on the poll, but Gift is the people's champ. We'll say that.
Gifted. The last point that I was making was the fact that this unit that the Miami Heat had, they've been together for a long time. That's why they've been as successful as they've been. Now, to add Damian Lillard onto this roster, to do the stuff that you said that he's going to do, that might take a little bit of time in order for us to get on the same page. That's why the Miami Heat were as good as they were. People always talk about how these guys are undrafted players. Well, you're talking about if you go back to 2020, all of these, with the exception of Kyle Lowry, these dudes all been together for a long time. And now you want to throw Damian Lillard, who is ball dominant, but he is one of those guys that plays in a lot of ball screens, which is the kind of offense that they run. That does work, but we also got to get on the same page with these dudes, right? We also got to get on the same page with Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard has to get on the same page with us. We are one of the best defensive teams in the game, which is one of the main reasons why we've made deep playoff runs. Damian Lillard is a minus on defense. And when I mean minus, let's take the numbers off the table. If you just watch Damian Lillard, he does not help his team defensively. Is his offense good enough to supplement the fact that he's not very good defensively? I'm not sure about that. I can't say with 100% certainty that I'm sure about that. But and to your point, when you just talked about Damian Lillard gives them that chance, well, that's the reason why we're trading for him. We're not trading for him to give us that chance. We're trading for him to push us over the top. That's the idea. And if he can't push us over the top, then that means this trade was a failure.
I can't agree
we got to move on. I just got to,
I just wanted to say that.
I want to put a cherry on top too, because I think you guys are both right. But then also too, you got to understand, with or without Damian Lillard,
only one person can be right. Ain't no both right. Ron, only one person can be right. Hey, Ron. Everybody in the comments section can agree with this boy. Hey, y'all can agree with this boy. Y'all can say whatever y'all want. I'm gonna tell everybody in the comment section something too. All y'all put y'all money on this boy. Ron, you set up the debate. Everybody come in here and put y'all money on this boy. Y'all know how I get. Y'all talk about, Ticket screaming and hollering. But when we get in them formal settings, Ticket is GOAT level type shit on these debates. And everybody in here know
because
it. I'm telling you, hold on. And I'm talking about an organized debate where you can't talk over each other. I go in other people's house and kick their ass and have them make a video. Hold on. I'm gonna say this to you right now. You talk to the producers of the show. It's gonna be me and you, and I'm gonna put my foot so far up your ass, you ain't gonna know. I ain't gonna say the rest. I'm just gonna tell you, boy, hey, bring your ass, and all them people that's in the comment section, you tell them to put their money on you, and I'm gonna put my money on myself. And when it's done, I'm going home with all the chips, sucker.
Okay. I mean, that's cute. It's really cool. Okay.
All right, fellas. Moving on. I was just going to say that the league's a gauntlet no matter what. With or without Damian Lillard, they're still going to have a hard time trying to get to wherever they want to get to. But let's go ahead and get into some super chats. That I think that'll lighten the mood here a little more. Sorry, chat. Things got a little tense over here, but we'll be all right.
They want that, though. That's why they here. They want chaos. They want drama. That's what they here for.
Kenneth,
hold on, Ron. We're not apologizing for nothing. All this stuff these people talking in this comment section, they talk that stuff in the comment section. Hold on, Ron. We're not apologizing for nothing. All I'm saying is, if y'all really agree with this boy, if y'all really think this boy is gifted, if y'all really think this boy is the next big thing, I'm gonna tell you something, boy. You know what your ass gonna look like when I get finished with you? you're gonna look like a puppy getting hit by a goddamn freight train, boy. And that's gonna be midnight. That's gonna be midnight Saturday. I'm gonna take your ass there right now, Ron. Y'all set it up, Ron.
That's
pretty gruesome. You set it up and tell me the time and the date, Ron. I don't care when it is. I'm gonna
talk basketball, not
a puppy getting hit by a freight train. Yikes!
So, chat. Once again, I apologize in advance. I tried to apologize in advance because I knew that was coming, but
Ron, when you become a Buddhist, Ron?
Last night.
Oh.
Yo, Kenneth Rutley with the super chat. It's blank, but we appreciate you, my man. Appreciate you for chiming in. Actually,
not Peter
approved. Who ducking you? You?
Just bring it.
Okay.
Hey, Peter has entered the chat ticket.
Kenneth Rutley said, "I don't think Dame is the tipping point at all. That means he has to win the chip. They've already been close for the last 4 or 5 years."
Well, it was close last year.
With the super chat. Go ahead, Chill.
They were close last year. This season that just passed, they were close. It was the closest that they've been. Let me rephrase that. Last year, this season that just passed is the closest that they've been.
I don't think they had any chance of beating Denver, to be honest. But
I don't either, Mars. So
they probably win if Tyler Hero healthy.
Okay.
Big Ox, yo, wow, with that logic, yo, with seeing how that offense ran with Joker, seeing how much better they were, seeing in terms of them pushing that defense, KCP had a bonehead. He had a bonehead game, no doubt about that. But how they guarded the 3-point line, you didn't know Aaron Gordon was that good as a defender on the perimeter. You did not know that until you saw him in the finals. You found that out, how good of a perimeter defender he was. You did not know that.
Aaron Gordon has been a good defender. But I just with all that stuff y'all was talking about, I was not impressed.
Yeah, true.
I was not impressed. And Tyler,
this is the duo we didn't know we needed. Gifted Ox or Ox the Gifted.
Tyler Hero changes the whole offense, not the same way that Dame will change it, but he changes the whole offense. Me and Lo talked about this before. When Tyler Hero comes off that pick and roll and you got Jokic on your heels, that floater is deadly. That mid-range pull-up is deadly. Tyler Hero opens up the offense. Damian Lillard, I already said how I feel about Damian Lillard on the team, but I'm just saying with Tyler Hero, it could go to 7 easy, and then they could pull it out.
Even if Tyler. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Chitan. Go ahead.
My fault. I'm sorry. Even with Tyler Hero coming off that, they've seen Tyler Hero in a better form in Devin Booker, and they handled him. They've seen that with Kevin Durant, and they handled them. Just so you guys know, when they played against Phoenix in that playoff series, 4 to 6 games that they played them, double-digit wins. They smoked Phoenix.
And where were the defenders in Phoenix?
Miami's better than Phoenix, though, Chitan.
That's the thing.
Miami, you think Miami is better? No.
Last year. All around as a team, yeah, I think so.
All around as a team. But what you're trying to sell me is Tyler Hero coming off screens. I don't know what the difference. I think Devin Booker coming off screens in the mid range is better than what Tyler Hero was giving them.
Yeah,
be that as it may. That's just one.
And they handled him.
That's just one aspect of the game, though. The Miami Heat all around were better than the Suns last year. So
Ron, you see that poll you just put up? This is how much y'all hate me in the comment section, right? I asked that boy if they would beat them with Dame, and everybody in the chat room said I was full of shit. Ticket, you don't know what you're talking about. Ron just put up a poll, and look at the results of that poll. Now all of a sudden y'all hoes agree with me. Man, it must be the Godfather with a whole train running around here because y'all some hoes, bro. Because I said it and everybody hated it. But now when Ron put it in the chat room, everybody agreed with what I said. Y'all some suckers.
Mars, what's going on?
This isn't relevant, really. Did you guys see that Bruce Brown said the Timberwolves was the Nuggets' toughest series?
I did see that.
How do you guys feel about that?
Was he trolling?
That just shows up that we can't believe everything we hear from NBA players.
Why? Like why is that crazy? Why is that crazy?
I can appreciate that though, Big Ox, and the reason why is simply because of that front line with Cat and Rudy on that front line, plus with Anthony Edwards on the wing. I can appreciate why he would look at them as being one of the toughest, if not the toughest series. I definitely can appreciate that.
The only game Denver won convincingly was game 1.
I mean, Gobert played really good defense.
And the rest of the games were close.
I think
I don't remember the exact scores.
Yeah, because people weren't watching the series. Not just I'm just saying people didn't care about the series. Game 2, I believe, is the game where Denver were up big and then Minnesota made a comeback late, and I think they
came back crazy.
Yep. They came back and then Denver ended up just closing it out. Game 3 to go up 3-0 was another close game. Denver pulled away at the end. Game 4, Minnesota won, and then game 5 was all the way down to the wire. And then I think one of these games went overtime. It might have been game 5.
It was game 4.
Yeah,
game 4 with the OT. Game 4 with the OT.
Because Joker missed those free throws, and the game went into overtime, and then they lost, and then they had to go to game 5.
And then
game 5, by the way.
Like one possession game where Denver won. Like other than game 1, every single game that Minnesota lost, they could have won. They could have won.
I think that series was like the most inefficient series Jokic had this playoffs too. I think
he had that one game where he went 8
and I think that's largely due to that front line and having to deal with Rudy Gobert. And as good as Joker is, and I'm not taking anything away from Joker, but having to deal with that front line with both Rudy Gobert and Cat made it difficult on him.
Yeah.
Definitely made it difficult on him.
Yeah, that series could have been 4-1 Minnesota if a few things went differently. And I'm not saying they should have won, but that's how close it was.
Real quick, just an extension on Mars bringing up the Timberwolves. Can I ask, how much better do y'all feel the Timberwolves will be going into next season with a healthy Karl-Anthony Towns? Because I've had to take on Twitter a couple times with the moves the Rockets made. I said I feel like personally, and it can be crazy, I feel like the Rockets and the Mavericks will be two teams that go into the play-in position, at least above the 10th seed, and 2 teams got to come down. I picked the Timberwolves and the Pelicans to come down. That's the teams I said. Everyone's telling me I'm tripping, and they're like, "Oh man, the Pelicans don't have Zion," which I don't think they're going to have Zion next year. I think it's going to be a lot of inefficient games, not inefficient, but he's going to be inconsistent playing. And with the Timberwolves, I don't think they got better. Now, are they going to be as hurt? We don't know. But if they didn't get better, injuries can play a part of it. I don't know how much better they're going to be with a healthy Cat. I don't believe in them. I don't believe in Rudy. I don't believe in Cat. I love AE. So how much better do y'all think the Timberwolves?
Doma's preaching. I don't know what to say. Doma's preaching.
Yeah, Martha's trolling. I can't put the Pelicans. No, sorry. I can't put the Timberwolves in that tier for me because last year Jaden McDaniels took a step. I think this upcoming season he'll take another one. A lot of people before the season said that Ant would take that step this year. I think Ant did that in terms of committing to the defensive side of the basketball. I think this upcoming season could be his most efficient. And I really think the way that Minnesota ended their season, they look like a very good team. That playing game, they matched up super well with the Lakers. And I kind of feel like re-signing their guys and adding like continuity to their roster by bringing these guys back with a healthy Cat who really shifts their offense is great. I'm not sure where they're going to rank in terms of playing or not, but I can't put the Rockets over them based on how prolific they were at the end of the regular season. Mars, I understand you are a Houston Rockets fan, but I still need to see Dylan Brooks change his game to really be moved personally.
He's going to change his game. Don't worry. He's going to change his game.
Mars, I'm still not fully convinced you're a Rockets fan. It's one of those.
I thought Mars was like a Warrior.
It's not a real tattoo.
So you
think rain outside and it's going to come.
I'm making myself watch Rockets games to put on a persona.
I think you
of being a fake Rockets fan.
100%.
Mars is the dude. Mars is the chick. Okay. Mars is the chick talking to the dude. They ain't really involved like that, but he's talking to the dude until he do something wrong, and then he out. Then she's out.
Oh yeah, if they got rid of Jalen Green, I'm out. I've already said that, but
he's already out now.
But I'm not going to be a Rockets fan forever.
Ticket and I had a back and forth about Minnesota last season. I thought that they were a top 5 seed if everybody. Barring any healthy issues, I thought that they were a top 5 seed. And before Cat missed 2/3 of the season, before that happened, this Minnesota team, right when Cat came back, they had climbed right back into, I believe they were
far back. They far back in it.
And they were a game out the 5 spot with like 3 weeks left in the season. So now if you can get Cat to play, who has never really been that injured throughout his career, if you could get Cat, if you could get 70 games out of Cat, if you could get Rudy Gobert to stay healthy also, I think Anthony Edwards takes that step. Jaden McDaniels also defensively, he takes that step. Re-signing Naz Reid. I'm still on board with the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'm still trying to figure out why the Boston Celtics haven't called up Minnesota to ask for Mike Conley, because I think with him, I think he makes Minnesota better. I think he makes Boston even better.
Yeah.
I think he makes Minnesota. I think he makes Minnesota better. But with that being said, I'm not out on Minnesota. Simply, I'm not out on Minnesota as a playoff team. I'm not saying that they could win it because Cat is not a number one on a championship team. I think he's a number 3 on a championship team. That I think he's Kevin Love. I think he's Chris Bosh on a championship team. That's who I think Cat is. However, I think that they're a lot better if Cat doesn't miss 2/3 of the season. Way better.
There's one thing that like you didn't touch on, Chill, that I also want to add. Gobert had a tough start to the season, but after like the trade deadline, like his defense picked up and he started to understand their system more. I think a year where this team has an entire offseason to understand how to play together, and they have film to really, show we're weak here and we're strong here. Having an entire offseason to prepare for that, and year 2 of Gobert understanding his role in that defense, I think they're just going to be a better team. Again, I don't know where they rank, but I can't have a team like the Rockets over them off of paper. I just can't do that. Especially when like I don't think the Rockets have what?
Can't do it. That was back when we were doing
I'm sorry.
We got a delay, Chitton. We got a delay somewhere. You got it. Go ahead.
Who got it? I'm sorry. When I talk about Rudy Gobert as a defender, I get roasted on the regular.
Why?
On the regular, when I talk about Rudy, oh my God, you have no idea how many times I talk about Rudy Gobert can't defend on the perimeter, and they what they do is they completely leave out his impact defensively and what this does for the entire unit. All they looking at is Rudy Gobert. He can't guard the 3-point line. They completely
raises the defense around him, though.
Right,
like, that's what he
they
does.
Completely leave all of that stuff out. All they care about is he can't guard 26 feet away from the basket. So because he can't guard 26 feet away from the basket, he's a garbage defender.
I mean, but that's why this team, I think, can be dangerous in the future. Because again, the development of Anthony Edwards and McDaniels as perimeter defenders, with Mike Conley being smart and having the IQ to fit in, can make this team a potent defensive team. Gobert, again, I'm not shooting no bail for him. He did not start the season great, but the way that they closed, Gobert was starting to really sink in and understand his role on their defense. So I do believe with the entire offseason to continue building, they can be a good team, especially over the Houston Rockets, who have not had a year under the belt with head coach Udoka, which I still think they can be good in the future. I just can't have them over the T-Wolves.
The Rockets are definitely going to get better, especially with him, with the offseason they just had as well. But I was saying back when we were still doing the Wednesday and Sunday show. Shout out to the Wednesday Sunday show, by the way. Back when we were still doing that show, I was big on the Timberwolves. I thought they were going to be much better this year. I don't think the defense is going to be an issue this year at all. It's just working on rotations, understanding during the offseason, training camp, figuring out how we're going to rotate, getting Cat to watch film and understand positioning and rotations, where he has to be on help side, things like that. I think it's not hard fixes. There's simple fixes that could be done to make that team a lot better. I'm not worried about Minnesota. I think they're actually going to be pretty good this year. I think they're going to give some problems in the West.
Yo, Mars, before I get back to these super chats, you had your hand up. You had a question?
Yeah, I was going to ask Chill if he thinks that the reason the Timberwolves actually became better during the season with Cat out and then obviously him coming back was because they didn't have to use the lineups with the Cat and Rudy 2 bigs, and they just went basically with a 1 big sort of lineup. Do you think that maybe made their team better, like defensively, or just more continuity? Is that maybe the reason? Maybe with Cat and Rudy, maybe the team doesn't improve as much?
Well, I think they were able to play less with Cat and more without him. And because they were able to play more without him, that gave them more opportunity to get it together between these guys, as opposed to we had to play with Cat for 22, 23 games. And now we got to completely move our system back to something completely different, which I did like between Anthony Edwards and Cat and Rudy Gobert, where Rudy Gobert is the primary defender, where he gets drop-offs, where he gets pick and dives, where he gets lobs to the rim. But now when you got Cat on the floor, which it could have worked, because if we got Cat the whole season, now Cat doesn't I'm just thinking offensively. offensively because defensively, Mars, we saw him at the 4, right? We saw him at the 4, and he looked like a guy who first walked into school and he has no idea where he's going. He's no idea what he's doing. But offensively, I thought it would work because the stuff that he had to do at the 5, he doesn't have to do that. Number 1, I don't have to guard the 5. Number 2, I can play more stretch 4, which is my natural position. Number 3, I would be more of an effective rebounder. Why? Because people are paying more attention to Rudy. But because I didn't play long enough where we can get that continuity down, you didn't really see it. So in turn, it looked better with Anthony Edwards and Rudy because they got to play more together.
Another thing, though, Chilltown, because I believe that when they first got Rudy, they were doing it as an experiment to see if the Twin Tower situation can work out. And then I believe that I thought they were going to have, if it didn't work out, they were going to have Cat on the trading block. So I'm kind of surprised that Cat hasn't been involved in a 3-way trade with Dame and all these other guys. It's only been a year ago. That was the thing I was saying at the beginning of Ron, because people were saying, well, they gave up too much for Rudy. But what I was hearing, even on like with the the NBA radio guys, they were even saying like they can get all that back, well, most of it back by trading Cat.
Hey, Big Eyes, what did you think they could have got back for Cat, homie?
Just a lot of their picks, a lot of their picks, and that's a big one. Dame, I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be mad at Dame and
I'm
Ant
convinced
together.
of that, Mars.
Crazy.
I'm
Dame
convinced.
And Ant is crazy.
Portland calls up Minnesota and asks for Cat for Dame. I think they do it.
So where's
I think Minnesota do it. I don't know if Portland are calling asking for Cat. Gifted, we can't hear you. He want to
go though, Mars. So it's different.
Yeah,
it's different now.
Mars, hold on. That might be right because Newsom with the big man, he said if Dame's gone, he gone. So yeah, I would see them getting rid of the big dude too.
But where's my
if Nurkic just saying if Dame's gone, he's out the league. I don't know.
Dump their contract, by the way. They want to dump his contract because they don't want to pay Nurkic either. So that's there.
Whoever gets Dame has to take Nurkic.
Is possible primarily because Cat is probably like maybe one of 3 players in the league who contract for contract is making similar money.
Hang on, Damo. Because I'm Damo, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You hand over Cat for Dame. Boston sees that, picks up the telephone, hand over Mike Conley.
I feel it.
You're doing this to get Boston a championship. Okay.
No.
Mike Conley would be good in Boston. Mike Conley would be good in Boston, though, for real.
I feel it. I'm all for Minnesota trading Cat. Personally, after Ant's rookie year, I said they should have traded Cat. I said Ant had the it factor. He had the dog that they needed in the number 1 pick versus when they had Cat. They had Cat long enough. They tried multiple experiments with Cat. I feel like they peaked with what they could do with Cat. It's time to have the reign of Anthony Edwards. So after they traded everything in the goddamn house to get Rudy, I was like, yeah, trade Cat, get whatever you can back, or just get another number 2, number 3, or a complimentary good player, or a bundle of quality role players to go alongside AE and Rudy and go from there. So I'm all for trading Cat. I just don't know if trading Cat for Dame is the move, but I could be wrong. Trust me.
They got to get some picks back. If they trade Cat, they got to get a lot of those picks back.
I feel like if you're trading Cat, right, just hypothetically on paper, and I hate throwing paper shit, but if you get Dame on the Wolves, you have Dame at the 1, McDaniels, Ant, Naz Reid, and then you have Gobert at your 5. That is probably the best defense that's ever been around Dame in general. And you also have Anthony Edwards as another wing scoring combination who can play make as well. That team can actually be dangerous on paper, but the timelines don't really add up because Dame is way older. So I do feel you on that.
Well, that timeline is now. If they were to make a move like that, they're looking to win right now.
Right now, you're trying to win.
Anthony Edwards is good enough right now to compete with Dame to go win that ring.
Can I ask another question too? Because we got here basically talking about the Timberwolves because of me bringing up the Rockets, and I know Mars is gonna like this, but this offseason, I don't know why, but I've been really high on the Rockets. Now, looking at what was it? Looking at the 22 season going into the 23 season, at the end of the 22 season, the OKC Thunder, they were like a 22-win team. Fast forward a year, they're a 40-win team. They're a 40-win team. Now with OKC, they didn't add a bunch of vets and everything like that, but a lot of their young guys took steps. They added both Jay Will.
It wasn't just a step.
Hold on.
Took a leap.
Hold on, and I'm getting there. And SGA took an MVP S-level player leap. Now, with the Rockets, you're talking about the Rockets, who was a 20-win team. Now they're adding an actual system. They're adding vets. And you have your two best young guys, which is Jay Green and Sengun, which I don't think they're going to take MVP leaps this year, but I do think they will take leaps that are at least good enough or wide enough to say, okay, after next season, they can be all-stars. So we're talking border all-star leaps from both of those guys, plus a leap from Jabari, plus a leap from Tari Eason. Why could they not? My question is, why could they not win 20 games? We've seen it done before. It's not like it's not
20 games or 20 more games.
20 more games to be a 40-win team. That's my question. Because people say I'm crazy. But with all that, we've seen the Thunder. Again, one guy took an MVP level leap. The other guys, it was just growth, and they had added an impactful rookie. With this team, you're adding two vets that can play. I'm not saying they're MVPs, but Van Fleet can produce. Dylan Brooks, as much as I hate him, he can produce. He plays defense. He can be helpful. And you have a bunch of young guys who all are going to take steps. And Jay Green and Sengun can take all-star level steps, borderline all-star level steps, replacement level all-star steps. Why could that team not win 20 more games?
MVP. I just don't think the talent is really on their side. I think Van Fleet is a good enough player, but he's never been a good two-point shooter. He's not really good in the paint as much. And I kind of feel like the system I have question marks on. OKC's coach has been there, and he's really one of the best coaches in the league. I mean, that squad went through an entire season without a real big man, and they had versatile size on defense. They were a defensive-minded team first. I think the Rockets are trying to have that same mindset, but Sengun is a terrible defender, and they have to find a way to make these younger players buy in on that side of the basketball. OKC had multiple years where they, had time to really take these players and fully develop them. Houston has to find out what players are going to play which minutes. These vets are here. There's a lot of things that are not going to continue on from last season for Houston. OKC had multiple years where they didn't sign any veteran players. It was more so, y'all are young, y'all are going to play, and each year you'll get better and better and better. And then Shea takes a step. Josh Giddey, he becomes way better, and they just have a bunch of depth around those guys who also take steps. Houston, to me, was kind of playing AAU basketball in the NBA. Udoka will 100% fix that, but I don't think the leap is this season. I think it's next season after you have 1 year of the framework, in my opinion.
Gifted. I agree with you on that to a certain extent, but I do think that we're sleeping on the talent the Rockets got. The Rockets are a little deeper than we give them credit for. They're young. For sure. Yes, they're young, but I'm going to throw out some guys. Obviously, you got Fred. Obviously, you got Jalen. I don't got to speak about them. Then you got Sengun. I don't really got to speak about him. But then when you get into guys like Tari Eason, he had a great rookie year. Nobody seen it coming. I did because he's a Seattle guy, but nobody knew how good he really was. He's gonna just get that much better in just a year time.
Yeah.
Then you got a guy like Kevin Porter Jr.
Why is he gonna get that much better again? I'm not hating on the Rockets, Mars. I just want to know.
I'm fine with Tari Eason. He brought Kevin Porter Jr. I don't know why he did that.
And I'm gonna get to Kevin Porter Jr. because I know a lot of you guys don't like KPJ, but I'm gonna tell you why KPJ is gonna be good on this team. But hold on, with the Tari thing, with Tari, my thing with Tari is he's just gonna get more comfortable. He's obviously has developed more. He's a year more mature. He's gonna get a year more refined, but I think he's just gonna be a lot more comfortable with the NBA game.
Right, because the only reason I asked that, Ron, is because I don't see. So from a first to a second year, if a guy gets this much better, how much more better does he get? You know what I'm saying? Does he keep getting that much better? By every year.
With Tari, I don't want to stick on this for too long, but with Tari Eason, for me, it's just the comfortability, and he's not going to be a player where he's going to go from averaging 7 points to 18. That's not going to be his thing. His thing is the game's just going to be a little slower for him. He's going to get a little more used to the system, and then on top of that, or at least playing with the guys that he's playing with, and on top of that, Tari's a defensive guy, so I think he gets a year stronger, a year more athletic, and he's able to handle some of those matchups a little better and bring a little more on the defensive end and just running the court and fast breaking with the Rockets. But with Kevin Porter Jr. Now, Mars, I know you may not be high on him, but as we know, Kevin Porter Jr. is one of the more skilled players in the NBA. Now, yeah, he does things that a lot of people might not like. He might shoot ill-advised shots. He might turn the ball over. But one thing that he does do, and this is what's going to happen with the addition of Fred VanVleet, with the addition of Amin Thompson, he's going to move off the ball. And what a lot of things that's not talked about with KPJ is he's a knockdown shooter. He's actually one of the best catch and shoot 3-point shooters in the NBA. So with him playing off the ball, and this is what I've said about him for a long time, he should have never been a point guard. KPJ's a bucket. He's a scorer. Right. So with him playing off the ball, now that's going to unlock his potential to really score. And then when you start digging deeper, Amin, I don't know how he's going to fit in, but if he can carve a nice role and get a nice niche on this team, he's going to bring something to the table. Then you got Cam Whitmore. I don't know what his role is going to be, but he's going to bring something to the table.
He might not get minutes, man. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah,
I like that.
He's getting minutes. He's getting minutes.
And that says a lot. That says a lot, though.
He's getting minutes.
There's only
I don't know
48
what you
minutes
mean.
in the game.
I don't know what you mean. Whoa.
He's going to get some minutes. He's not going to be
over Dylan Brooks. They just paid $80.
I forgot about Dylan Brooks.
Dylan Brooks is starting.
We're not going from he might not get minutes to. I'm not saying he's playing over Dylan Brooks. I'm saying he's getting.
All right, so you got who? At like the wing / 4.
Our wing depth is.
No, I'm saying they're starting five. Their starting five. Their starting five will be what? And this is just me thinking on paper, but it will be VanVleet, Jalen Green,
Jabari Smith, and Sengun. That would be our starting five.
That'll be the five.
How about Jabari Smith too?
And then our bench wings will be Tari Eason and Cam Whitmore. I don't think Jayshawn Tate. I think Jayshawn Tate is going to be the secondary.
Forgot about Jayshawn too.
Yep.
Like that's all right. So then, how many minutes a game you think Cam will play?
At least
16 to 20.
I don't think Cam plays over Jayshawn though. It's something about that veteran toughness. Defense.
Yeah, with Ime is possible, and then maybe he'll get like 12 to 16 minutes.
Younger players though,
but this is
but 12 to 16 is still minutes. Like he's in the rotation.
This is a new situation.
I think y'all looking at this all wrong.
Oh, well,
go ahead, Chill.
How should we look at it, Chill?
I think y'all looking at this all wrong. If you saw Ime last season, though, when he was with the Boston Celtics, where were the Boston Celtics at in terms of defense in the league?
They were the best defense.
They were top of the league.
All of y'all looking at these dudes offensively. Ime is going to implement a system defensively. Yeah. Ime is going to implement a system defensively. Those are the guys that are going to be on the floor, and that's how they're going to win games more than anything. And that's why he's going to play. And for that reason right there, Mars, what you just said, that's why he's going to play 20 to 25 minutes a night. That's why he's going to play. That's why Trevor Ariza Part 2, in the words of Mars. Yes. That's why he's going to play, right? That's why Kevin Porter Jr. won't be in the lineup as much as you would like him to be in the lineup because he's been on defense a liability. Now we're going to have to clean up a lot of this stuff, but this team is going to be more of a defensive team than anything. And the reason why they're going to be more of a defensive team is because Ime has to implement discipline on this unit, which they didn't 100%. Have last year at all. At all. And because he's going to do that, that's why this team's going to be better. I don't think it's ridiculous to have them win 10 to 15 more games this season. To win 40, for Damo to say that they win 20 games, that's 42 wins. That's a playoff team.
I don't see that.
My goal this year was 30.
That's a play-in team.
I don't see 42 wins.
Looking at the standings last year, the play-in teams were between 40 to 42 wins. That, like I said, taking out, and I said if I'm taking any team from 7 down to 10 or 7 down to 11, whenever the play-in starts.
I get the Pelicans though because they help.
The Pelicans, they're both of those teams were 40 to 42 wins. I forget exactly, but 40 to 42 wins. I think the Pelicans either plateau or slightly decline. They would come down.
This season right here, though. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No. I feel you.
If he plays, Zion got this
to make a break season for Zion.
I'm out. If I get another breakdown where I get 35 games, I'm out. I'm letting y'all know right now. I'm out.
And that's what I think. And sadly, and I don't want to sit here and just project injuries, whatever. But I'm just going off what you've shown me throughout your career. And he has been unreliable to play basketball. And I don't think that changes. I just don't think it changes. And CJ's only getting older. He's declining. I don't know who they added. To me, they lost Jackson Hayes, who I was high on Jackson Hayes the whole time. I thought Jackson Hayes should have got more minutes. I understand they got JV, so that took a bulk of the center minutes away from what he could potentially got when he was drafted. But I was a Jackson Hayes guy. Defensive, rim runs. He's the type of 5 that you want. I'm glad the Lakers got him. Hell, like, hey, y'all gonna hear a lot of me. Y'all thought I was crazy about Mo Bamba. Wait till y'all see me talk about Jay Hayes. But yeah, I just don't know what they do.
With Biggs is not good.
What do you mean? What's wrong with Jackson Hayes?
Mo Bamba and Jackson Hayes are both not panning out. Like,
First of all, they both played their role. They both played their role. Their situation is. I'm tripping for thinking that Jackson Hayes just be there to rim run and block shots. That's crazy.
You said you were high.
That might be his role.
Yes, I'm tired.
He was right about Mars. He was right about Wyndon Gable. Get Wyndon Gable off the floor.
And that was my whole thing. That was my man. Any actual big man, I would rather have out there. All right, we're not about to get back into it. We're not, because I might have started talking terrorist ball again. So we're not gonna get back into it.
Nah, but Damo, you right though. You right though, Damo. Because what? Wyndon Gabriel is too small to be out there trying to play the 5. He's my size, bro. He can't play the
man. In 2005, he's a small forward. I'm not trying to hear nothing about
Wyndon rebound. That's my only issue with him more than anything. He doesn't rebound.
But anyway, when it comes, let me say, hey, as Chill would say, focus. Let me stay focused. When it comes to the Rockets, I just think it's a lot of development. When you have a bulk of young guys that I all see can take steps, now different levels of steps, but you have a bulk of young guys all taking steps. You add to, in my opinion, top 10 to top 5 talent when it comes to rookies again, which we've seen with the Thunder. They added one guy that was a top 5 talent, and look how that happened for them. You got Thompson, who he doesn't need to score. He's going to get in where he fits in and just play basketball. He's a hooper. The Thompson twins.
Talking about me?
Yes, I'm in.
Talking about Wall.
Those
Magic Johnson.
Those guys are hoopers. So he's just going to get in. He's going to play defense. He's going to make good passes. He's going to attack when he can attack. He's going to fit in just well. I don't see why it's so crazy to say, okay, with a team like the Pelicans who can potentially fall, with a team like the Timberwolves who I'm being biased, there's a lot of bias, but I think they will fall. I have faith in the Dallas Mavericks to rise, but at the same time, they can easily plateau. I don't see how much better the Dallas Mavericks have got.
I think that's what makes the West conversation next year so good, because it's like there's so many cases you can make for a team to rise or fall, and we legit don't know, right? Like these things are fluid. I just feel like for me, Ime is going to be a good coach for them. But my issue is, let's say, right, that his emphasis is defense. And I agree with you, Chill. It is, right? What defense does Şengün play? Jalen Green can fill out to be a good defender, yes, but he hasn't locked in fully on that side of the ball either. And in my opinion, offensively, you can make an argument that Şengün is probably their best offensive player in terms of half-court ball passing, screens. I can get all that stuff. My thing is the blend
offensive
between
player, Mars, not scorer. Offensive player, Mars.
Not score.
Relax.
Not score. I'm just saying, by the numbers and the way that they impact the game when they're on the court, the challenge Udoka is going to have is leveraging these minutes to where we're able to develop, but we're also competitive enough to win basketball games. And I think that adding in Van Fleet and also Dylan Brooks throws a wrench in that, kind of, just because they're going to get more of the looks on the offensive side of the basketball. And
better not be giving Dylan Brooks no looks.
Not Dylan Brooks. I really think Dylan Brooks is going to play his role defensively.
No.
Van Fleet, yes, though. I give you that. Van Fleet, yes.
Listen, I hate to say this, though, right?
Dylan Brooks is like a 16 a game guy. Mars, what are you talking about?
Taking 16 shots, Joe. He's not taking 16.
Yes.
What makes you guys think he's not going to take 16 shots on the Rockets if he took 16 shots on the Grizzlies?
Ime Udoka is not playing Dylan Brooks taking 16 shots a game. He's not playing.
We just saw Dylan Brooks on the Memphis Grizzlies, and his excuse, he could take 16 shots because he played defense. Is Ime gonna roll the same way? Because let's say his defense is so good, it's like, you know what? You take any shots. Dylan Brooks,
it's like
if he takes 16 shots, it was probably like 12, 11.
Let me actually look at it. Let me look at it. Let's
Why you look at it?
I guarantee Dylan Brooks. Guarantee he didn't shoot more than 11 shots.
Hold on.
This year he took 13.6. This year he took 13.6 and averaged 14.3.
Now bring up the playoffs. The year Dylan Brooks.
Oh, the playoffs. 12.8 to score 10.5.
That shit is not good.
The year before he actually was taking 16 shots. The year before he was taking 16 shots. So
can we not look at Dylan Brooks?
It's not about the amount. It's about.
Go ahead, Damo. Go ahead.
It's about the selection of shots, not the amount of
The
shots.
only reason he's getting that many is because the shot selection is terrible.
Well, it was terrible, but he got to stop trying to just fire threes. He got to be a slasher, attack the rim and whatnot. If he's not here firing up threes, he got to
Can we now look at Dillon Brooks and his time with the Grizzlies and say the reason he had the luxury of taking those shots is because he was there for years. That was something that was built. He was a part of the building process. He was there when they were trash. He was there around. Did he not get drafted a year or a year after Ja got there? He was a part of that process growing. He was a part of. Well, he was there before Ja got there. So he was there when they were a rebuilding team. He was there when they got Ja and things turned around. He was there on the rise. So for him in that system, he had luxuries to do those type of things. He was given that green light. Him going to the Rockets, I feel like his role would be more defined. I feel like his role will be more understood, and he's going to be more direct as, hey, look, we have 18 guys that need the ball. You are here because of your defense. I think Dillon Brooks, with the money he was paid, with the image that he has and the attitude that he has, he's going to say, I'm here for defense. I'm going to get in where I fit in. I don't think Dillon Brooks is one of these guys where he has this ego about himself where he's like, I have to shoot the ball 12 times. I have to shoot the ball 15. I don't think that's the case. I think he buys into whatever Ime's selling. I think he looks around the locker room and sees young guys who all need that, who he's going to be looked at as big bro. I think he's going to look at his past situation and be like, okay, there's this stigma of Grizzlies players after playing with Ja, after everything that went on. Let me show him mature, and he's going to take that step back. Now, if he doesn't, that's fine. This is a game of what ifs. I think that Dillon Brooks, now Van Fleet's going to get his shots. You got him there to shoot the ball. He's going to get his shots.
Doma's taking the optimistic perspective.
I am. I'm being very optimistic about it.
No. I don't have any issue with you doing that, Domo. All I'm saying, bro, is Dillon Brooks has also said on the record the next team he goes to, he wants to be featured more offensively. He wants to do more things on offense. And then he signs that contract with Houston with all of these players who some might not need the ball, but they're best maximized on the court with the ball in their hands. So to me, I more so have to see it. I understand you taking the whole optimistic view, but my thing is, if you're playing with John Morant, who can like play make and create, and you're one of those guys who just volume shooting these shots, if you're playing good defense on Houston, and like Chill said, if Udoka is focused on the defensive side of the basketball, Dillon Brooks is absolutely going to get the minutes. And if he's going to get the minutes, I think Dillon Brooks is this competitor that's going to get the shot, that's super confident in himself. So I do think that while you can make the argument that it can change, because again, I'm fair, right? You go to a new team, players look different. It's possible. But at the same time, it could be more of the same. And if it is, offensively, he was a negative a lot of times when he was on
fellas. I'm sorry, fellas. We got to move off the Rockets. We got to move off Dillon Brooks.
If this was the Lakers, we still
exactly. We got to talk about the Lakers. Y'all know I would love to talk about these other teams, but you know the producers in the back, they're making me talk about the Lakers. Hold on. Oh, they said the Warriors and
I'm out of here.
Lakers. Oh, the Suns. All right, we got to talk about one of those three teams for a majority of the show. Otherwise, you know, we're not going to make people happy.
I'm a Warriors fan.
Let's do the Clippers. We don't want to talk about the Warriors or the Lakers.
Hold on, because I'm trying to. You know, this show is to the people, it's for the people. So I want to get through these super chats. I'm tired of being an L host. You know, I don't sleep good at night being an L host. So we got a super chat from Doe. He said, "Ticket knows ball. Big up PC from London. They know ball out in London. All right. Yeah. Good to know." Finesse Lord 21 said, Ticket doesn't get that they rested Dame 2 weeks after the All-Star game to get Wemby.
They didn't get Wemby. I'll tank.
They tried.
The fact that they've got above us is whatever. We move. Cool.
Taquay White said, "I'm confused. Chill gets put on ice when Ticket is speaking, and Ticket claims he cooked him, and he sent him to hell. Ticket gets out on ice for interrupting and cries that he's hated. I don't get it."
When you're hated, you have to complain that you're
hated. Y'all know Ticket like to be the bad guy, bro.
TMF Willie said, "Damo, not Rick Ross. He's Cyan Cotton, especially because he's a Bron fan, respectfully."
I have no idea who Cyan Cotton is.
I was just about to ask you, who is Cyan Cotton?
I don't know who that is either, bro.
Let's do a quick Google search.
I feel like it's racially motivated. I don't know.
He said respectfully, Damo.
Leaf Diggy said Mars know it. Celtics got 2 Scottie Pippins.
Facts. He's a musician who was going to play for Ohio State football, but he decided to quit to pursue music. And now he's a rapper, I think.
It's good for him. Okay.
He's a
fat black guy? Is it a fat black dude?
He played with LeBron James in high school.
So he's a fat black dude?
Oh, I know exactly who he talking about. And it's racially motivated. See, man,
but I think he played with LeBron James in high school.
This is crazy.
Yeah, I think he played with LeBron James in high school.
He should have played football, man.
Wisdom Warrior with the super chat. Gifted seems to be the only guy up here that knows about Miami Heat basketball. The same teams y'all put above us, we spank them yearly. Time to wake up.
You don't spank them yearly because the year before you lost to the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Championship. So no, you don't.
In 7 games.
These dudes make me sick with this
the year before that,
dumbass logic.
And they
got swept by Milwaukee. So no, you don't yearly. That's not true. And Gifted does know basketball. But I've been around the game a little while, my man. So I know a couple things. I might not know everything, but I know a couple things. These dudes make me sick with this goofy ass logic because when you talk about their team, if you ain't talking about their team as the best team, you don't know the game.
Right. It's not always like that. Like I just like to break down like their team because they are the definition of like the purest like basketball, like off-ball screens, cutting, like the fundamental stuff that people don't really care about as much. But that doesn't mean that they just dominate every team yearly though. But they're really good. So
yeah, I don't watch enough Orlando basketball if that's the case.
I always say if you want to like see like really good basketball, I really like watching OKC.
OKC hoops.
That's why they're my second team once Jalen Green gets mistreated in Houston.
I like the second team. Watch the Miami Heat watching because the Miami Heat, in terms of that offense, they run a similar offense to what the Golden State Warriors run. A lot of action off the basketball, a lot of movement, a lot of pick and roll stuff. They run a really similar, like not one guy, even though Steph Curry is the guy, but you got Draymond as the facilitator. They run that offense a lot through Bam, so it's real similar to what they're doing in Golden State. Real similar.
Mars, that was a pitiful statement, Mars. You shouldn't do that, bro. Let me tell you something, Mars. When you got your girl, you love her.
You're not about to preach loyalty to me, Ox. I'm not loyal.
Don't worry about the side, Mars. You can't give your all to this one, Mars.
Ox, I'm not loyal. I'm not about. OKC, you're not gonna preach loyalty to me. I'm watching OKC. My eye is wandering, is drifting. My attention is diverted.
Mars,
my attention is diverted.
Mars, you got side hoes?
He absolutely does. Why do you think he's so quick to bounce? Why do you think he's so quick to bounce, Ron? You already heard him. If Houston does this, he's gone. Mars is not 10 toes down with anybody.
Mars, give Houston your all, Mars, and they will give it back to you. The basketball guys will reward you, Mars.
Yeah. And by the way, Gifted, Mars said about Thompson being Magic Johnson, and you said that's nuts. Just so you know, he said Jalen Green better than Jordan too. I just want to put that on your mind.
Yeah, no. Listen, I know Mars is a high level troll. He understands how to communicate very effectively. I actually had a debate versus Mars, and like he initially was trolling, and then shit got serious. I know Mars is a high level troll, but trust me, when it's time to talk hoops and he care about that shit, he'll talk hoops.
Yes, he will.
When Jalen Green is Michael Jordan, I want written apologies from him.
You cap it right now. Next time.
Jalen Green. Jalen Green.
Hey, Mars, I agree with you on Jalen Green, bro. I'm with you on Jalen Green 100%. Like I said, we've been talking about this since Jalen Green was.
I gotta get my glasses. I don't see the vision. Let me go get my glasses real quick.
Your vision's been going for 20 years
before Prolific Prep. When he was still down in Fresno. He was still down in Fresno.
What school was he at? It was.
I don't remember. That might have.
I can't.
Oh, it was Memorial.
Okay, yeah. So back, bro, his junior year in high school, I'm like, yo, that's the next Jordan right there. I agree with you, Mars. But what I do need you guys to do, Chilltown, I think I might need your help with this one, is Mars calling the men Magic and Ron calling him John Wall as his ceiling at his floor. It's crazy. I need y'all to come off of that. You know?
No, Amen Thompson isn't just Magic. He's Magic, but more athletic and a good defender. Let's make sure we have.
We got to get in the super chats. We can't do this right now.
Mars is taking years off my life right now with this. He is.
When I'm right about both of them, I need 2 written apologies.
Unlimited Z said Giannis' injury is an excuse. Bucks had 14-plus point leads going into halftime and leads going into the fourth in Game 5. The brother missed 13 straight free throws.
Yeah, but when you have back pain, it's hard to make free throws.
Okay. So like, I'm sorry, but like, I really hate it when people don't keep the same energy, right? So earlier we said the Heat got swept, right? Jimmy had back problems. No one cared. They got swept, right? But now when Giannis has back problems, that's why they lost. Like, if you watch this series game by game by game, Milwaukee had multiple leads over and over and over. In fact, Jimmy Butler was shit talking Jrue Holiday down 16 in the game. So like, collectively, their half court offense absolutely folded, and that's why they lost, I think.
Shout out to Coach Bud.
Big shout out to Coach Bud for that.
I was
leaving Jrue as one of the better perimeter defenders in the game on an island by himself with a cooking Jimmy Butler. You're not going to help him, huh?
No,
that's what you're going to do. And I told this to Mars. Basically, what I saw Apollo Creed and Drago. He going to beat the hell out of him. You're not going to stop this. You're just going to let this happen, huh?
You guys think Bud's going to get another job? You think Bud's going to get another job?
Yes, it's the NBA. Of course he will.
I think he'll be on somebody's bench for sure. I don't know.
I mean, like as a head coach, do you think he?
I think Coach Bud is a good coach. I just don't think he's a championship level coach consistently. Like
coach.
I do think the year that
define good.
I do.
Okay, like a life coach. What kind of coach? What we talking about?
I don't
know. Big Ox, he ain't that bad, yo.
No, I just want to know. I just want to know what the standard for a good coach is.
That level.
That was bad.
Chill.
I just want to know what the standard for a good coach is.
I'm a better coach than Bud.
Okay, I think for Coach Bud, the year that they won the chip, I think the key thing is putting Giannis off of the ball and letting Chris Middleton operate in terms of their half-court offense to close out games, even though Chris himself was, hugely inconsistent through three quarters. In terms of closing out offense, that was more consistent. The issue, though, is Coach Bud is not a coach that makes adjustments on the fly in a playoff series. He can be very stubborn and really trust what got him there. But in terms of coaching basketball, he's a phenomenal coach, especially in a regular season. So, like, going to, like, a younger team trying to, like, coach them up and, like, help them get better as a team, I'm with that. I don't think that's, bad at all. I don't think he's this, like, trash coach that can't coach another game in the NBA, especially when we've seen Doc Rivers have coaching, opportunity after coaching opportunity.
Yeah, Doc Rivers is trash too.
But
I think when most people say Doc Rivers isn't Mike Budenholzer isn't a good coach, we're talking about championship teams. Do I think?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do I think he could coach a young team and get them to understand the fundamentals and get them to play in the right way? Sure, but if you're trying to win a championship and Coach Bud's,
I'm not going with Bud. No.
You're cooked.
Yo, Bud and Mike D'Antoni need to be coaching middle school together somewhere.
Oh man, you taking it.
All right, fellas. We've reached the point in the show where, we should probably start talking about the title of the show. And so what the title of the show essentially is getting at is, what is the biggest, what if duos? So for instance, I got a couple for you guys. Follow me. So, like duos that could have been or were about to be, but it just never quite happened. So it's a couple that come to the top of my mind when I start thinking about this. You obviously got Chris Paul and Kobe. That was supposed to be a thing. David Stern came in and he vetoed that. You got situations like, let's say, Jordan, for instance, when he could have got drafted to the Rockets or to the Blazers, and it would have been him and Clyde, something like that. Something like, for instance, T-Mac, if he would have stayed in Toronto, T-Mac with Vince, what would they have panned out to be? What if duos like that? I want to know what are you guys' craziest ones that you think would have been dope to see, and what do you think they would have done? So I'm gonna just set the table and start it out with the glaring one, Kobe and Chris Paul. What do you guys think would have happened had they got together? And then I want to hear some more from you guys.
What year was that? 2011, 2012?
The year after they lost the NBA champion. The year after they lost to Dallas.
So the 11-12 season. I don't think Kobe tears his Achilles.
Because he don't got to do as much.
Yeah, so did they still get Dwight Howard the following year?
They had enough.
They traded for him.
Yeah, because they got him in that like 3-4.
I'm saying, did they give up the same pieces that they were going to send for Chris Paul? Would they have had to send those same pieces for Dwight? Would they have had enough left over?
The Chris Paul trade, I can't remember who was a part of that deal.
Lamar Odom was going to New Orleans in that trade. Lamar Odom was going into New Orleans in that trade. So I don't know if that works.
So let's just say no to White. So you got Kobe, Powell. I mean, they would still have Lamar Odom then, right?
And Chris Paul is on the crew now. So now the Western Conference, at that time, Dallas was basically Dallas had just won the NBA championship, but they were a one-hit wonder. I think the Lakers are back in effect. And the reason why I feel like the Lakers are back in effect, they now have a primary ball handler. That triangle offense, it works even more effectively with Chris Paul, because I think Chris Paul at that time, he was only in like year six or seven. So him now working in that triangle offense where him being a distributor, I think that they're much more effective. I think the problem we're going to have is Chris Paul being a primary ball handler and wanting the ball in his hands. Him and Kobe Bryant are going to have to work that out. That's going to be an issue. And having to get Al Gasol involved in the offense.
You don't think Chris Paul just takes a step back?
No.
Or do you think
what did you get Chris Paul for if you're going to ask him to be off the ball?
Right.
But I was also actually something else I was gonna say. You don't think Kobe takes a step back, knowing he's in the latter years of his career? He has a dude that's in his prime, a dude that can run the show. You don't think Kobe's a little more lax? I know we didn't necessarily see that version of Kobe, but at the same time, at the point of his career where he was at, the team that they have, and also who Chris Paul is, I think Kobe would. Matter of fact, Chris Paul would be Kobe, the best guard that Kobe had played with, or the best ball handler, or anything of that sort. You don't think Kobe would be willing to, chill for a second?
I think he might play off the ball more. I don't know if you call that taking a step back, but I think that would make it probably work. But I still think Kobe's gonna get his isolations. I probably think he's just gonna probably come off a few down screens and then get the ball high post, and then it's isolation. I guess that counts as taking a step back because Chris Paul's holding the ball. But I don't think it's a seamless fit. I'll say that. I don't think it's a seamless fit. I don't think they're just naturally in the finals for the next 2-3 seasons. I still think OKC are there. I still think the Spurs are going to be ascending. So I think they're a contender in the West, but I don't think it's just a guarantee they're going to rattle off like 1 or 2 or 3 championships. So I guess that's my thoughts on that.
That's fair.
Ox Gifted, you guys want to chime in on that?
I'm happy they didn't get Chris Paul.
Yo, Gifted, you.
We're not hearing you.
Gifted,
we don't know if you're
muted.
I was muted. Yeah. I think you guys covered a lot of it well. I think Chris Paul at the time was a very good playmaker, and he would be able to take the pressure off of Kobe. I just question like how creative are they both going to be used? Like 2-man game options were like handoffs. I'm not quite sure
Mike Brown wasn't a great offensive mind at that time, and he was the coach of the Lakers.
So like probably not.
That's right.
But the talent is the talent. So that's kind of where like I'm at. Woody, y'all pretty much covered everything else. It would be cool.
What other duos do you guys got? I got a bunch, but I want to hear some from you guys.
Kobe and KG. If Kobe picked up the phone when he was in China when KG called him about joining the Lakers, and they made that happen, that's a 3-peat in my opinion. Straight away. That's a 3-peat.
KG Kobe on defense is crazy, man.
Now I'll talk about this one because that would have made me a Lakers fan.
That's crazy. And you want to talk about my eye drifting? That's crazy.
Hey, but Mars, it's KG though, bro. Like if KG go,
from a Kings fan saying you'll be a Lakers fan if KG goes there, that's worse than me saying OKC.
And from an offensive standpoint, I mean, how much better KG would have been in that triangle? Like them playing off of him with the money mid-range game that he had, his ability to get to the basket.
He could pass the ball too. Like
that's where I was going. Now him playmaking and passing the basketball to other people, guys playing off of him. Kobe would have showed him the triangle offense, and KG was a lot smarter than people think he was as a basketball player. I think he would have picked up the triangle quicker than people think he would have. I think he would have been great in that triangle. But the one guy that I heard
about it is like their mindset for the game too. Like KG and Kobe were like maniacs, and they like really made the other team like feel them. Like those two on the court together Oh man, oof. That's crazy to me. I ain't gonna lie.
What were you saying, Chill? You were about to make another point.
Well, you brought up those two, and I pushed back with those two. I wish Shaq and Penny would have stayed together. I think it would have been something different if those two. Number one, I think he preserves Penny. I think Penny plays longer because he didn't have to do as much. When he lost Shaq, now he had to do a lot more, which elevated him breaking down. If he played with Shaq, I think that at some point they would have won it. And I don't think he would have. They were Shaq and Kobe before Shaq and Kobe. I don't think Hardaway was as good as Bryant, but the way he played off of Shaq, and I think that they would have upgraded. I think that they would have ended up moving off of Nick Anderson at some point because after those free throws, I think that he was gone mentally. I don't think he wanted anything to do with having the basketball and the meat and potatoes of the game. Having Dennis Scott as a shooter, I think he also preserves. I think Shaq and Penny, I think they also preserved Dennis Scott's career. I think he plays a little bit longer. I don't think he's out the league in 2000. I think he's still around. I would have loved to have seen those two guys together. I do think that at some point that they win it.
Yeah, that would have been great. I would have loved them.
I'm with that. I mean, we're pretty high on Penny around here, so I think we're be in agreement on that.
I got a duo.
Go ahead.
If Steph gets traded to Milwaukee,
in the Bogut trade,
I mean Giannis.
Does Giannis develop the same way? Because
that's what I was about to ask.
Jason Kidd comes in and uses him as a point guard, but if Steph's there, does Giannis get that ball handling responsibility?
That's my biggest question because I think if you trade Steph over there, Giannis isn't going to get those reps being like that on-ball guy as much. But my question is, does he need to have that to still become this great player? Because with Steph on the floor with him, he's still going to be able to dominate those advantages. I still think he's going to really be the same player physically, but I don't know if his on-ball skills are going to be there.
I think if we do it that way, and we just assume that the player is still going to be as good, then it makes it easier to talk. So I can agree with that. But since you bring up Steph, I would like to say the duo that I wish we could have seen was Steph and DeMarcus. You know what I'm saying? That would have been, all we had to do was draft him at number 4. We could have seen Steph. We could have seen Steph.
This ain't really a duo, but it kind of is. Steph and Mike D'Antoni. If he went to the Knicks,
I see what you're doing.
Oh my God!
I see what you're
doing. I think he doesn't have the same success. I don't think he wins 4 rings. Blah blah blah.
But
the numbers he's putting up with Mike D'Antoni.
He would be taking 23s a game. His shit would go up to 12 and a half.
That's something I want to see.
Oh my God!
He had Mike D'Antoni.
It would have been in the Knicks when Mike D'Antoni was there.
No, what year though?
2012 was he in the Knicks?
So they still got Carmelo?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, Melo would be there.
Okay.
Which Melo didn't even like the fact that Jeremy Lin was going off. So now he gonna get Steph Curry.
Hate that shit.
He definitely hated that.
I would have never been able to watch one of those games. I could have never watched it. I would never watch this game.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Curry with Mike D'Antoni.
Mike D'Antoni would make his shit.
Goodness. I mean, Mike D'Antoni had Pau Gasol shooting threes in the corner.
I guess my question is
I vividly remember that.
Oh my
How
God.
much off ball do you think Steph's game would be under D'Antoni?
I think he'd use him off ball in situations just because Steph had that in his game just out of Davidson. I don't think he would just fully remove that, but I don't think it's going to be the staple part of his game. If there was a percentage split, it'd probably be 80-20 in terms of on-ball creation. But I do think you just can't fully get rid of that out of his game just because that's who Steph is. And even if there's just some possessions where Melo has the ball, Steph's just going to be so active anyway that you're going to have to start just running sets for him. And I think that's probably what would end up happening. But I just want to see what it would look like, Steph and Mike D'Antoni. We saw James Harden. Steph's doing that on just much higher efficiency, in my opinion. He's not pounding it.
Yeah, he's not pounding the basketball like that. He's getting much better looks. He's definitely more efficient.
Way more threes, way more way more free throws, more efficient free throw. I just really want to see what that would look like. Honestly, that's very, very intriguing, Mars.
Do the Orlando Magic? No, I'm sorry, not the Orlando Magic. Do the Toronto Raptors win it with Vince and T-Mac?
They get to the finals. Just based on the Eastern Conference landscape.
Just based off the East being what it is, at some point they get by. They get past Philadelphia. You think they get past the Nets?
I think 0-1. I mean, they were one Vince shot away from getting past Philly anyway.
Right.
You had Tracy McGrady, who at that point wasn't Orlando T-Mac, but he was still a good player. That's another complimentary scorer who I think helps that team. He wasn't egregious defensively, so I don't think you give too much back. You still have guys like Antonio Davis on that team. I think Alvin Williams was on that team. I think. And then in the conference final, I don't know if they beat the Bucks just because I think the Bucks were very good. But 0-2-0-3 when T-Mac really ascends and then he becomes a much better playmaker. His athleticism really seems to just becoming more functional. I think that's probably the years where they're probably making deep postseason runs, and I think they can probably get over the Nets. In my opinion, that's probably.
I think that I do think that they add another playmaker in terms of a distributor, and they speed the game up because I think in the half court, I think your one-on-one action with both Tracy McGrady and Vince Carter, I think that's unmatched. I don't think you got that in the NBA at that time as perimeter. I don't think that there's any other perimeter players because when I think about Glenn Big Dog Robinson and I think about Ray Allen, just in the Eastern Conference alone, those two guys are 18 to 20 a game scorers. Allen Iverson didn't have a 20 a game. Another guy on the wing that was elite. So when I think about Tracy McGrady and I think about Vince
18
Carter,
to 20. Go up.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking. So when I think about a guy like Tracy McGrady and I think about Vince Carter, I'm thinking about a guy that could get them the basketball, not just in transition, but when the game slows down, a guy that could keep the defense honest, where they can just go and create shots for themselves and just be great one-on-one players. I think they would have been awesome in that aspect.
What about Jake Kidd when he was on his way to the Spurs?
Vince, I don't know how to say this. Do you think T-Mac and Vince moves you more than if he paired up instead of Vince with Tim Duncan?
And that's one of the main ones I wanted to talk about. And it's a backstory behind the whole thing too.
Yeah,
Bobby, you know the backstory, right?
I view that as a biggest what if trio because imagine Grant Hill is healthy and you have Duncan and T-Mac. That's a trio in my opinion.
Well, there's your playmaker in Grant Hill.
And I think that team is running the Eastern Conference.
There's your playmaker and there's your distributor in Grant Hill. That's the guy that's really getting you involved in the offense. You got your low post guy, but when you're talking about when you're talking about Tracy McGrady and Tim Duncan, you would have to add Grant Hill into that had he been healthy. But just with Tracy McGrady and Tim Duncan, I don't hate it. I don't hate it because I feel like Tim Duncan, you're going to get him involved in the offense. You're going to get him he's going to get buckets. Defensively, he's going to make your team that much better. Tracy McGrady, you got your wing scorer. It could very well be a Shaq Kobe kind of comparison. I think the Shaq and Kobe are better. I think that they're better in the aspect that Kobe might be a little bit better distributor. I think he's a better playmaker. And I think that with him and Shaq, how they play off of each other, I think that would have been better. Plus the fact that they played together longer. When you put in Tim Duncan with Tracy McGrady, you throwing these two dudes on a crew together. Shaq and Kobe actually got an opportunity to grow together. So I think that would be the difference. But I think that Tracy McGrady and Tim Duncan, I think that they would win. I just don't think that they would win as much.
So that was definitely free agency, though, right? There was no way the Spurs were going to trade Tim Duncan, right?
Yeah, he was a free agent in 2000.
That was 100% free agency. Yeah,
he was a free agent.
You know the story, right?
Yeah, with the plane and all that, with the family.
You trying to tell the people who don't know what actually happened and why Tim Duncan?
Guess who the coach was, everyone.
I'm pretty sure most people do know.
I'm getting a headache thinking about this.
For anybody that's been living under a rock, though, Tim Duncan was ready to sign with the Orlando Magic, but then Coach Doc Rivers said that his family wouldn't be able to fly on the team plane to away games and whatnot. And that was the
gotta love Doc Rivers.
That was the deal breaker.
Why was he prepared to leave San Antonio though? What's
I have no idea about that, Mars. I'm pretty sure Orlando just to play with T-Mac. You know what I'm saying?
But coming off, they just won
from the DR, right?
They just won the NBA. They just won the NBA. They won the NBA championship the year before that. And in 99, 2000, they had lost in the playoffs early. But you got to remember who we're talking about, Mars. Remember, we're not talking about a 70-year-old Greg Popovich. We're talking about a to-the-grind Greg Popovich. He was always on him. And maybe this guy doesn't work for me. Maybe this guy doesn't work for what and he was constantly on him. So when Tim Duncan comes back, Greg Popovich is still hard on him, but in a different way. He's not constantly screaming at him. He's not constantly on him. He actually had to change up his style with Timmy. So otherwise, he was going to lose. It
was a wake up.
You lose this guy. Otherwise, I'm going to lose him if I don't change my style up. So I think that had a lot to do with it.
So the one I wanted to talk about, and I'm looking for some insight to figure out
the Nets game. You know where you can stand up and touch the ceiling. That's where we were, way up. That's how bad the Nets were. So Jason Kidd staying in Jersey, they weren't that far away from winning it. They were right there, and they were building that unit around Jason Kidd. So you figure with Kenya Martin, he still was young. Keith Van Horn was another piece to what they had. They end up adding Mutombo to that crew. That team wasn't that bad. In fact, Kerry Kittles was still really good. So that team wasn't that bad. That team was really good, and they were right there on the doorstep. So Richard Jefferson was a rook. So if you look at that unit, to go play with Tim Duncan as opposed to staying in New Jersey, and again, they didn't do that kind of stuff back then neither, Big Ox. I mean, in terms of teaming up with guys, like I'm doing my thing over here, and we building this unit in a way that we're going to compete for NBA championships. Do I want to go jump on that San Antonio unit and do it with him? I don't think that he was really feeling
on top of that. So since you brought that up, how is that looked at? We can't hear you, Mars. How is that looked at though? If J Kidd leaves the team, just kind of like what KD did.
You just said what I said while I was on mute. Okay.
Oh, for real? So if KD leaves the team if J Kidd leaves the team that beat him in the finals,
that's what happened.
To go play with him, how do we talk about J Kidd? Are we downgrading J Kidd? I mean, I know I guess I have to at that point.
You have to be consistent.
Yeah, I got to. But I mean, I still wish he would have did it though, so he could just
The reason why I don't think that he'll get as much slander is only because J Kidd wasn't close. Well, he wasn't top 5 at that time, like players.
Yes,
so it's like
he was the best point guard in the league. He was the best.
Okay, so you got Kobe. Was he? We can just get that off the table.
So in 2000,
Kobe, Shaq, Duncan. Go ahead, Kobe,
Shaq, Duncan.
And this is what year are we talking about?
2003 in 03 when they was in the NBA final.
I'm still gonna say T-Mac.
Okay, that's as far as you can go. You can't go Vince Carter. I'm thinking about Vince. Not at that time.
You can't go Vince Carter. No, he was better. He was Vince Carter.
Not Vince Carter. Dirk.
No,
Dirk was on his way to be in that. I think Dirk was in year 4. Jason Kidd was the best lead guard in the game.
I ain't even giving you T-Mac. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not giving you T-Mac.
I'm not ready to say T-Mac neither.
Jason Kidd was hands down the best point guard in the
Jason
NBA.
Kidd was the best lead guard in the game in 2003. 100% he was.
The point that I'm making though is he could be top 5. The point I'm making is KD was like Bron and KD.
Mm-hmm. KG was at that point too.
And so it's like KD doing it was I guess J Kidd would have tipped the scales too, but for KD it was a little different because it was like at this point you're highly regarded as the second best player in the world. So it's just a little different. But I mean he probably still would have got flack for it. Yeah, but I just don't think it's the same.
Jason Kidd's also joining arguably the best player in the world. KD didn't do that. So there's that aspect to it.
A lot of people thought Steph was the best player in the world. I mean,
not after the finals, they didn't. Like Tim Duncan in 03 was considered the best player in the world by most people.
Yeah,
rightfully so.
And Jason Kidd, who if he's not top 5, a top 8 player in the league, would be then joining Tim Duncan, the best player in the world, after just losing to him in 6 games in the finals.
Right.
After being in back-to-back finals himself.
I think that would have been the start of what we were seeing, like with James and then Kate. I think that would have been the start of it.
That would have been the start. Okay.
Well, they would have had.
That's why I was thinking. He wasn't better than Allen Iverson.
Yes, he was.
J
Kidd was better than AI when J Kidd was in his prime. He was better than Allen Iverson. Yes, I hold on to that. But we don't need to get into that conversation.
No, we don't get into it. But with that being said, though, Chilltown, it would have had to have been the start of it because if J Kidd goes over there to the Spurs, they run the league. If you don't team up after that, you're just playing to lose to the Spurs.
Do we see a Tim Duncan back-to-back for the first time?
We see a 3-peat, damn near a 4 or 5-peat. Who's beating them?
The Lakers, because the Lakers are going to upgrade. Yeah, you wow with that big.
But this was an 03, right?
03 when Kobe Bryant
win 04, they win 05.
I get that.
Whoa.
They just get past the Lakers, and then I'll give you the Timberwolves, and then they beat Detroit.
Yeah, they beat Detroit.
Why?
In 04, that Detroit team,
Hey, I love Detroit probably more than everybody up here, but they beating Detroit.
Why?
Because they're better.
Oh, okay, facts.
With J Kidd?
Yes, with J Kidd.
That means Tony Parker is out, right? So that means Tony Parker is out. You're putting Jason Kidd in, and now Ginobili is going to play off of Jason Kidd, and he's going to play off of Duncan instead. Does Jason Kidd make them better? He does. Yes, he does.
I think he makes them better. I just don't think it's just they beat Detroit.
They beat Detroit. They beat Detroit in 05 without J Kidd.
In a dogfight. And what does Jason Kidd do? And remember why they beat Detroit. They beat Detroit because guys shooting the basketball. Jason Kidd at that point was not a great shooter. He was definitely more of a distributor, a finisher at the basket.
Team, though, right?
Manu was still on the team, 100%. Manu was still on the team.
I do like Manu in transition next to Jason Kidd. I'll say that.
I love Manu in transition next to Jason Kidd. And Chauncey Billups ended up outplaying Tony Parker in those finals. Does he outplay Jason Kidd in those finals? I don't think so. I
love Chauncey too. But I'm just saying, like, if they won in 05 with Tony Parker, they definitely win in 05 with Jason Kidd. And if we're talking, and then to go back to 04, which I think this was the year we were talking about, it's the same. I think it's the same thing. They win that too.
I'm not mad that they win. I just don't like that it was just like so easy. Like how you said with KD and Kawhi being generational.
So they beat the Lakers.
I get you.
So they beat the Lakers with Gary Payton and Malone and Shaq. You think they beat the Lakers? Take Tony Parker off that crew and they beat the Lakers.
I'm gonna tell you like this. That might be one of it's those Spurs, all that generation of Spurs. That's already like one of my favorite, dynasties or whatever you call it. But you add Jason Kidd to that, it's hands down for me. Like,
but do his rings count?
Yes. All rings count. All rings matter.
I just want to see him being consistent because I mean he's doing a
all
KD.
rings count.
He is doing the KD. But is he doing a KD like KD though? Don't get me wrong, Mars. I understand that they played them in the Western Conference Championship and they lost to him. But the fact that they were up 3-1 and then he jumped on that unit the way he did. I mean, Jason Kidd, he was a free agent and then pursuing him in free agency. It wasn't. In fact, during that time, that the conversation during that time, Mars, was that would be great if Jason Kidd got on that crew. How much better would they be if he was on that team?
Yeah, because
as opposed to Jason,
there's no social media. That's why. Social media
right. And Mars,
right. I think that would have affected it too.
I'll put it to you this way.
Remember, Jason Kidd did it, and I love Jason. He didn't play great in the 03 finals.
He was not.
He didn't play great. He lost to the Spurs. He then joins the Spurs and then rattles off three rings. What we doing here? Like,
I'm telling you guys, it's all magnitude. J Kidd was debatably a top 5 player. KD was a top 2 player, top 3 at the worst. So it's
that
just,
is a different degree. Yeah.
Well, you got to look. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it from like my age. When KD did that, I was a grown man. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at it that way. I got morals. I'm looking at it from that. In that time, I'm like 11, 12 years old. So I'm just like, hey, this basketball. Go do your thing, Jay.
Right. And during that time, if I'm remembering the narrative, during that time, there was not a lot of pushback for that. When the talk about, because I remember Tony Parker having to answer questions about Jason Kidd possibly coming to the team, and Tony Parker was like, I don't know why we need him. I don't know why they would be pursuing him. And there were plenty of people who were thinking that this would not be a bad thing if Jason Kidd got on that crew because he's better than Tony Parker. So he would push them over the top as opposed to us looking at it like, well, wait a minute, you jumping on this crew because you can't beat them. That wasn't the narrative back then. The narrative back then was.
What I'm hearing now is the old heads of today were just like the young generation are now, 20 years ago.
Mars, I keep telling you.
Mars, but now that they're older, they want to crucify guys like KD for doing it. But when it was happening in their time, they were all for it.
They were okay.
Fellas. We got. Unfortunately, no, we got to wrap things up. Unfortunately, before Mars exposes our whole generation and the generation behind us and everything. But no, we really do. We really do got to wrap things up. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Like the video on the way out. Yo, Gifted. It was an honor having you up here. I see you ran ticket off, so I don't know. Maybe we might have to get you back up here to see if you can, follow up this performance with another one.
Hey man, I appreciate the opportunity up here. I'm a new content creator at Gifted Hoops on YouTube. I make a bunch of videos about the NBA. I just like basketball, but I'm also not afraid to raise my voice and compete with anybody because I'm with basketball.
That's what we do here.
Yeah, so big shout out to Players' Choice. I appreciate all the support and all that. Thank you.
If you come up here, you better know what you're talking about.
Mars, you will be 30+ one day, bro.
I keep telling Mars.
Right, it's a wrap. We'll catch you next.